way in which YouTube's recommendation algorithms pushed ISIS content out to users who were likely susceptible to ISIS propaganda. Justice Sonia Sotomayor questioned Schnapper.
I type it in, they give me a thumbnail of everything they think answers my inquiry. The suggestion box.
Yes.
Why are they liable?
Because a thumbnail is not exclusively third-party material. It's a joint operation, and it combines. If you look at the thumbnail, it'll have a picture, which comes from the third party. It has an embedded URL, which comes from the defendant.
The Dow at this hour down 483 points at 33,343. There's a stalled vehicle southbound 270 at Olive Boulevard. It's on the right shoulder. Watch for a stall 70 eastbound past Cave Springs. That too on the right shoulder. And they're cleaning up debris 70 eastbound at Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. Be prepared to stop there as a result. And the KMOX forecast, sponsored by the Penn Mutual Life Insurance Company.
We're off to a chilly start, but it won't be bad today. It just won't be as warm as yesterday. Mainly sunny, the high getting up to 56. We'll see temperatures steady or slowly rising through the 50s with increasing clouds tonight. Some rain and some rumbles as we get up to near 70 tomorrow. Windy turning chillier Thursday. Sunshine dropping from 60 into the 40s. Colder Friday, upper 30s, and there could be some rain or ice Friday night into Saturday morning. We're keeping an eye on with AccuWeather. Meteorologist Dean DeVore and the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It has warmed up to 47 degrees and sunny skies in St. Peter's and Florissant. It is 46. It feels more like 44 there. And it is sunny and 46 degrees downtown at the Arch. At Penn Mutual, we believe that life insurance is the central part of a sound financial plan and that it can make an enduring impact for generations to come. Talk to your independent advisor. Go to pennmutual.com/STL. Penn Mutual, trusted for life. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
Welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends.
This is The Show. Now, Amy Marks Core's Chris Ranji on KMOX.
Good morning, St. Louis. Welcome into the show. Glad to have you with us today. We want to hear from you throughout the morning and the afternoon. The phone number to call us, 314-436-7900. You can also use that very same number to text us. If you want to drop a line, that is a voicemail where you can hit and run. You can do that, 314-944-1120. We are also on the socials, and we want you to follow us on both of those, Twitter and Instagram. And the handle is at the show KMOX. And one other thing, if you didn't know, we are on FM, just like we're on AM at 1120 AM. We are also on 98.7 FM. The signal comes in pretty well most areas around St. Louis. If it's a little fuzzy and you want to switch back over to 1120, you can do that. Or just listen to us live on the Odyssey app or KMOX.com. And, of course, the podcast of the show is there when the show is over. You can go back and listen to it whenever you feel like. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji are with you today. And Amy, we start this show today. The news of a young girl out of Tennessee who was in town over the weekend for a volleyball tournament. She's 16 years old. Her name is Janae Edmondson. She was critically injured when she was hit by a car at around 9 o'clock, just before 9 o'clock on Saturday. She was about to cross the street. A car was speeding through, going about 20 miles over the speed limit. It crashed into another car, and then it crashed into a parked car and pinned her between it and the parked car. What we know now is that the driver of that car, who was responsible for the entire accident, and by the way, tragically, Janae has lost both of her legs. She had to have both legs amputated below the waist. She is still in critical condition, obviously, and this is an incredibly tragic and traumatic event that has happened to her. But the 21-year-old driver of the car failed to yield at an intersection, smashed into another car who had the right of way, and then smashed into her. We have found out that the 21-year-old driver of that car had multiple offenses, had broken the monitor, the GPS monitor, because of prior offenses, and had violated the GPS. I mean, you're supposed to be in a certain place when you're on house arrest, and this person was not. What we know is this person should have been on trial and did not get to trial from reporting done by KMOV and KSDK that he was supposed to have been on trial, but the circuit attorney was not ready for the trial. The defense was ready for the trial back in 2021. The
witnesses
judge, the
were-
witnesses, everybody was
the
ready
victim,
to go.
They were all in court.
Yes, and this was for a separate crime. This is for something completely different.
This was exactly 7 months ago.
Yes.
Daniel Riley, the 21-year-old, was in court.
So I said 21, it was 2022.
Yeah, so Daniel Riley is 21 years old. This happened on July 18th. He was in court. The witnesses were in court. The defense was in court. The victim was in court. The circuit attorney's office was not ready, even though the armed robbery that took place that he was being charged with, that happened in 2020. She was not ready 2 years later. So the charges were dismissed. They were refiled again that day, but Daniel Riley walked out of court. He had a GPS monitor that he had been wearing since 2020. He violated it over 40 different times, including February 13th, just 5 days before he caused this crash that now a 16-year-old girl from Tennessee who came to our city, St. Louis, for a volleyball tournament. Her life has been forever changed. She has lost both of her legs, both of them amputated because of this crash. Shame on you, Kim Gardner. Shame on the circuit attorney. Shame on all of the leaders in the city of St. Louis. Shame on the city of St. Louis. And all of us should feel embarrassed and outraged. The circuit attorney has shown time and time again that she has failed to do her duty as the lead prosecutor in the city of St. Louis. I don't have time to go through all of the cases in which she has failed to do her job. She has been reprimanded by it. We can go all the way back to Greitens when she purposefully withheld evidence from Greitens' defense team. We can go to the 30 murder cases or dozen murder cases and 30 felonies overall that were sent to an assistant prosecutor who was on maternity leave. Let me just say this again, with these 30 cases, they weren't that they were just sliding through the cracks. The cases that were assigned to this prosecutor while she was on maternity leave were some of the highest profile cases in the city of St. Louis, including the case for the murder of David Dorn, the retired St. Louis police captain, including the murder of police officer Tamaris Bohannon, including a death penalty case, and as I mentioned, over 12 murders. The judge said the circuit attorney had abandoned her duty to prosecute those charged with crimes, and he said ultimately the circuit attorney's office is responsible for protecting public safety. And when I first heard this story, without knowing the details about Daniel Riley and how his case was dismissed because the circuit attorney's office wasn't ready, even though the event happened 2 years earlier, my first thought was, there's no deterrent for crime here. We talk every day how people drive through the streets. They run through red lights. It feels lawless. They know that they can get away with crime, carjacking, whatever is breaking windows. And we know there's just this sense of lawlessness. And it's one thing to complain about bad drivers, but this is the result, is that because there's no deterrent, because criminals know that they can break the law and not a damn thing will happen to them, they continue to do this. And this young girl doesn't have legs now because there's no deterrent to crime, including our lead prosecutor, who is absolutely impotent when it comes to prosecuting crime. And now to know that this guy was in court and his case was dismissed because the circuit attorney's office wasn't ready, shame on you. The city should be outraged.
I think that it is. What I don't think is necessarily true is that these things are happening because, and maybe in some cases it is true, but I don't think the underlying problem is happening because people feel like they can just get away with it. I don't think it's about deterrence necessarily, because we are not unique. The perception and the talk about St. Louis, the discourse about St. Louis is unique, but the actual problems are not necessarily unique to us and mid-sized cities like us. Milwaukee has similar problems when it comes to carjackings, for example. Baltimore, same thing. Denver has problems. Minneapolis, St. Paul has had all of these cities have had dramatic rises in carjackings and car thefts and car crimes. So I don't really think it's about deterrence necessarily. In this particular case, though, and there are sometimes, and I don't understand the law like an attorney would or somebody who studied it, but I know there are times where it makes legal sense why a case isn't tried, why something is thrown out, why something is delayed. I get that. In this particular case, though, based on the reporting we've seen, it does not appear this is one of those. This does appear to be one of those that should have been handled. And if it had been handled, this incident would have been prevented.
See, I disagree. I do think it's an issue of deterrence. National data shows that the number 1 and 2 ways to fight crime, to deter crime, is 1, police presence, and 2, assurance of prosecution. Not the severity of prosecution, mind you, because criminals don't know the severity of the punishment, but knowing that there are cops around and knowing that if they get caught, something will happen to them. And we don't have either of those two things in this city. And while we're not unique with crime in the sense that all cities deal with crime, the history of this prosecutor's office, the circuit attorney's office, it is unique. Most circuit attorneys have not been reprimanded or asked to have their license removed by the Bar Association because they are so incompetent or deliberately abdicating their duty, as has Kim Gardner. And in fact, that one first-degree murder case that I mentioned at Campbell, I forgot his first name. It was a first-degree murder case. Not only did the circuit attorney miss the court-ordained deadline for presenting evidence, but there were 3 separate court hearings where no one showed up. No one from the prosecutor's office showed up. We also know that between 2017 and 2021, nearly 100 prosecutors left her office. Many of them said because they were disillusioned with the dysfunction and inability of the circuit attorney's office to function as it should. So in that sense, we are unique.
Well, I'm not saying that she is not incompetent. The signs are pointing toward her being incompetent. What I'm saying is the problem is not exclusive to St. Louis. And these other cities are also having difficulty with finding carjackers. And I'm just using carjacking as an example because that's the one thing we're all talking about right now. Where they're using carjacking as the and I think it's because there are a lot of young people doing it, younger people, and it's outraging to a lot of people, which it should be. But what is happening in other cities is they are having a difficult time in, first of all, catching the people who are doing this stuff and then having a difficult time prosecuting. We're not unique in that sense. I'm not saying Kim Gardner is not incompetent. I don't know for sure that she absolutely is, but signs are pointing toward her being incompetent. I'm absolutely conceding that. What I'm saying is this is not a St. Louis exclusive problem, but we're going to talk about it like it is, mainly because we live here and because the perception is that St. Louis is worse than other cities when it comes to stuff like this. But I'm not sure it's entirely unique because the numbers don't really suggest it is.
Well, but we always hear this in St. Louis. I mean, I hear this as a defense of St. Louis. Well, Chicago has crime. Yeah.
Chicago's different.
Chicago has people.
It
It has restaurants and stores, and it's vibrant. They're not the same at all.
You can compare us to Kansas City, and they have similar problems to us, but we get the brunt of it. In fact, Kansas City has seen a rise in violent crime more so than we have seen, or at least on par with what we have. Springfield, Missouri is the same sort of thing.
Is Kansas City hemorrhaging residents?
I don't know.
We're hemorrhaging residents.
But we're also talking about perception, too. And perception is why people leave. What I'm saying is this is a nationwide problem, and it's across the state problem, too. We're talking about the 3 biggest cities in the state are all dealing with similar issues in terms of violent crime. We'll get back to this, and we want to hear from you. 314-436-7900 is the number to call and to text us. Of course, you can leave us a voicemail at 314-944-1120. Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji on KMOX.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to KMOX for all the news, sports, talk, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Laurie Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
KMOX celebrates Black History Month, honoring Black icons.
Morgan Freeman is an actor, director, and narrator, recognized automatically by his distinctive and authoritative voice. Freeman's career began on stage, progressed to TV, and several popular movies, for which he has multiple Oscar nominations, and the Kennedy Center Award for the AFI Lifetime Achievement Awards, among others.
KMOX, celebrating Black artists, athletes, and trailblazers all month long. More at KMOX.com.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Paramount Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Brown. The physicians at Paramount Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Paramount Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 314-720-8081. 314-720-8081. That's 314-720-8081.
It's the final days of Ashley Home Store's President's Day sale. Last chance to save big, up to 50% off. Shop deals starting at $399 or get no interest for 5 years with no down payment. That's no interest until 2028. Don't miss huge mattress savings at Ashley Home Store. Save up to $500 on best-selling Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets in stock and ready for delivery. Text deals to 79975 to learn more. Ends Monday, only at Ashley Home Store.
Is your bank, brokerage, or your insurance company telling you to buy an annuity? They may have limited access to the best rates available. You need solutions, not someone pitching you a specific product. Call for your complimentary retirement and income book at 844-513-SAFE. That's 844-513-7233. And also join me, Ben Coons, for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, heard here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on KMOX Radio.
Serving St. Louis for over 96 years. KMOX.
314-436-7900. That's the number on KMOX. You can text it. You can call it. Amy and Chris on the show. We welcome you into the show. A couple of texts have come in already. One says, to me, to quit defending her, and her is Kim Gardner. She is bad for the city. First of all, I did not say she wasn't bad for the city, and I certainly did not defend her. What I'm saying is this is a symptom of a larger problem around the country. It is not just exclusive to St. Louis, and it is not just because of a lack of deterrence. I'm also not saying that's not part of the equation. What I'm saying is there are clearly bigger issues at play here if we are not the only city that is dealing with a massive increase in violent crimes like armed carjacking. We're not. And I know this isn't necessarily a carjacking case, but it is a violent car crime. And they kind of, by the way, nationally speaking, they do not do a great job of counting carjackings. And I know there was this effort about a year ago to try and get the federal government to do a better job of that, because a lot of car crimes are all rolled into one. Burglaries, thefts, carjackings are all kind of rolled into one instead of being at a granular level, really examining all of them individually. We don't do a good enough job as a country of that.
Yeah, and the reason why, to me, this is especially infuriating, because this was not a carjacking. This was not a violent crime felony. What this was a traffic violation, a car crash from somebody who had committed a violent crime, and because of the prosecuting attorney's inability or reluctance to actually prosecute crimes, which is her job, this man was driving out and about with reckless abandon, knowing that nothing is going to happen to him. When you violate your GPS stipulations, you've already been in court and you were charged, and then those charges were dismissed and they have to refile it, and you violate your GPS stipulations over 40 times. That is a cavalier attitude that says, the authorities don't run this city. I can do whatever the hell I want to do, and I'm going to drive however the hell I want to drive. And it's that attitude that it grows. It becomes more prevalent within the city. We talk about it feeling like the Wild West out here and completely lawless because criminals know nothing's going to happen to them. So this type of thing, which was failure to yield at a yield sign, crashing into another vehicle, caused a young girl to lose her legs when, if this criminal had been prosecuted the way he should have been, this would not have happened. That this, for some reason, this compounds the issue because this is a direct result of our city's inability to prosecute criminals, whether they are committing first-degree homicide or armed robberies, as this guy had done. It's a disgrace, and we should be ashamed and we should be embarrassed.
There are so many layers of tragedy to it, and clearly for Janae Edmondson herself, this could not be worse. To lose both of your legs at 16, to be an athlete and to be here for a tournament and to have that taken away from you for the rest of your life is absolutely tragic. I think in addition to that, we were talking about perception of St. Louis itself, and it's bad. It's nationally bad, and I think some of it is unfair. Some of it is warranted, though. Some of the way other people look at us, and I know there are people who live here who say, I don't care what the rest of the country thinks of us. Well, I do, and I think you should too. You should care what other people think of St. Louis. The added layer of this is here's a person and a family that was in from out of town. And we talk about making this city appealing to other people, to people from other places. Do you think the people of Tennessee are ever going to look at this city, at least anytime soon, knowing this tragic story happened, and think, yeah, St. Louis ain't that bad? This is just another thing. I mean, there are so many different layers of tragedy here. And as I said, first and foremost, Janae's situation is horrific. And she'll live with that forever. And it's awful. It's also terrible for the city. It's terrible for a lot of people.
I read the local news in Tennessee. They know that this guy, this Daniel Riley, should have been in court. That's being reported. They know the failure of our city's prosecuting attorney.
We are expecting to hear from the president, who is in Poland 1 year after the Ukraine invasion. We will carry those remarks here on KMOX.
Hey, it's Matt Pauley. I hope you join me and Mike Claiborne as we navigate through the Cardinals offseason with the Countdown to Opening Day show. We'll bring you all the latest on the 2023 St. Louis Cardinals, new players news, and what to expect from team management. You'll hear from the skipper to the front office, Cardinals players and coaches, along with broadcasters John Rooney and Ricky Horton. Catch all the Redbirds action on the Countdown to Opening Day show.
Presented by Ameren, Wednesday night at 6 on your home of the St. Louis Cardinals. KMOX.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Hey guys, Glover here, and I see clearly thanks to Doctors Birdie and Malhotra, and you can too. Go to youridoc.com today or call 314-966-5000.
Just like golf, investing your money can be tricky. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft here. When market downturns happen, investors are tempted with products that promise to guard against inflationary sand traps. From coins to cryptocurrency and everything in between, always research the investment before you write the check. Visit MissouriProtectsInvestors.com for more information. That's MissouriProtectsInvestors.com.
Paid for by Investor Education and Protection Fund.
At 10:30, we have sunny skies and 45 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel. A woman is dead after a two-car accident at Choteau and South 17th. We know few details about the morning accident, but just that it was a crash between a black sedan and a compact green car. The driver of the green car, the one killed at the scene. Authorities say a man has been arrested in the weekend killing of a Catholic auxiliary bishop that shocked Los Angeles religious and immigrant communities. The suspect arrested yesterday identified as the husband of the victim's housekeeper. CBS News correspondent Jim Krasula reporting now on a new focus of the nation's largest Protestant denomination.
Leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention have decided to create a database of ministers credibly accused of sexual abuse. It's considered a major milestone in the denomination's efforts to address abuse reform. It's the first major development in an initiative that survivors of clergy sexual abuse have been seeking for more than a decade.
One top Southern Baptist official tells CBS abuse reform is a lot more complicated than it looks. Last year saw a record number of guns intercepted at airport checkpoints across the country. The numbers have been steadily climbing and hit 6,542. The Transportation Safety Administration says it's a reflection of what's going on in society, and there are more people carrying firearms. Experts don't think it's an epidemic of would-be hijackers. Nearly everyone caught claims to have forgotten they had their gun with them. Consumers willing to pay monthly subscription fees for streaming services, pet food, even toilet paper. Now some restaurants are betting they'll do the same. Large chains like Panera and P.F. Chang's, as well as neighborhood hangouts, are increasingly experimenting with a subscription model as a way to ensure steady revenue and customer visits. Taking a look at the commute. Watch for an incident 70 eastbound before Route TW. It's on the right shoulder. There's a stall 270 southbound at Olive Boulevard. That on the right shoulder should be cleared out as we speak. They are still cleaning up debris 70 eastbound at Mid-Rivers Mall Drive right now. The right lane is closed, but it could be closed for another 10 minutes. The KMOX forecast sponsored by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Sunny, not as warm as yesterday, but still nice. The high 56, cloudy tonight. Temperatures rising slowly through the 50s. Occasional rain, thunderstorm tomorrow, the high 70. Right now, it's mostly sunny and 45 degrees downtown at the Arch. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, your premier provider of fences, decks, patios, sunrooms, and more. Call them for a free estimate today, now offering 20% off your next outdoor project. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, go to chesterfieldfence.com. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
I'm JR of CBS Sports Radio, and I want to introduce you to a new podcast titled Agents of Inclusion, brought to you by Special Olympics, Odyssey, and JR Sport Brief Productions. Every Wednesday, we'll be speaking with a different Special Olympics athlete to share their stories of perseverance, accomplishment, and path towards inclusion. We don't want you to just listen. We want you to become an active agent of inclusion as well. Special Olympics, Agents of Inclusion, find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Underlaw, we take on the establishment and challenge corporations to be better for the safety of our community.
Call Underlaw Personal Injury Lawyers at 314 or 618 $9
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Declare financial freedom from car payments in 3 easy steps. 1. Visit Genesis of St. Charles during our amazing Payment Freedom event. 2. Choose your favorite new ride. 3. Drive payment-free until summer 2023. Make no payments until summer 2023 at Genesis of St. Charles. Genesis of St. Charles, located in the St. Charles Hyundai Building, located a quarter mile east of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive off I-70, or visit online at genesisofstcharles.com. Interest, if any, accrues during the deferral period, expires 2/28/23.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and includes 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
I'm Dakota Hudson. I'm Jordan Hicks.
I'm Cardinals pitcher Jock Flaherty.
I'm Tommy Edman.
I'm Cardinals outfielder Jordan Walker.
I'm Paul DeYoung.
I'm Woodson Contreras. I'm Adam Wainwright, and you're listening to the voice of the Cardinals, KMOX.
President Biden is in Poland and is expected to speak here in a matter of moments after taking the surprise trip to Ukraine yesterday. And this, the anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine in Poland. Biden will be speaking. We'll be carrying those remarks live here as soon as he gets out to the podium and begins to deliver his speech. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on the show with you. And it's been happening for about the last 24 to 36 hours, Amy, that the discourse has been, why is Joe Biden in Ukraine and not in East Palestine?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Which is where the train accident happened, the derailment happened, and there are hazardous chemicals that are affecting the community in a really horrific way, and it's going to get worse as time goes on. This really feels like it's missing the point. This doesn't feel like an either or thing. It doesn't seem like because he went to Ukraine, he does not care about the people of Ohio, or that he's eventually not going to go to Ohio. He has already dispatched disaster relief to Ohio. It doesn't make sense to me to make the argument that he only cares about Ukraine and not about Ohio. He is open for criticism of all kinds, and he deserves a lot of criticism. This seems to me to be really trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, again, I've criticized President Biden extensively, and when his actions are bad enough, you don't need to compound those by trying to make comparisons that are illegitimate or just non-commensurate. So, yes, could Biden have gone to Ohio already? Absolutely. Do I think Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg has really done a poor job so far? Absolutely. I'm not impressed with Pete Buttigieg at all. With Biden going to Ukraine yesterday, a surprise visit to Kyiv, this trip to Poland was already planned. So it was, would he go to Ohio first or after? I don't know. For whatever reason, he didn't. Should he have? Maybe. But it's not that he doesn't care about Ohio. He went to Poland. This trip was planned. He had a surprise visit to Kyiv. I thought that was really an extraordinary and so far unprecedented show of support for Ukraine, because we've never had a U.S. president visit a war zone when the United States did not have troops on the ground in that war zone. So this was the first time that had ever happened. Again, criticize Biden as much as you want. I do. But to say that he doesn't care about Ohio because he's in Poland now, it's a weak argument. It's weak.
It's politics. It's politics, and it's always let's search for something that we can turn into something or spin into something as he is abdicating responsibility, and it's not that. And I know the mayor of that city also criticized him, Trent Conaway. I believe we reached out to Trent last week to try and get him on the show. We didn't get a response. I mean, I know he's busy and he's got a lot going on. But he did say on Fox News that this was the biggest slap in the face, and that tells you right now he doesn't care about us. So he can send every agency he wants to, but I found out this morning in one of the briefings that he was in the Ukraine giving millions of dollars away to people over there, not to us, and I'm furious. Yeah, President's Day in our country, he's over in Ukraine, so that tells you what kind of guy he is. Look, I know he's dealing with a disaster, but I think that's ridiculous. All of that's just absolutely ridiculous.
So, and I don't know. Again, I think he has every right to be upset. And I think if I were in East Palestine, Ohio, I would be upset that Biden hadn't come to visit our city yet. But I don't think it doesn't mean he doesn't care. Should he have gone there earlier? Sure. But he also needs to support Ukraine. So again, for that mayor, he can say what he wants. He needs to vent. It's been a disaster.
Maybe we should be upset with the rail line, with Norfolk Southern lobbying to get some of these regulations removed so they can operate in a dangerous way. Maybe we should be upset with that. Joe Biden is coming out to the stage to deliver his remarks in Poland. Again, the 1-year anniversary of Ukraine. Here's the president.
Duda, Prime Minister, Mr. Mayor, to all the former ministers and presidents, as well as mayors and Polish political leaders from all across the country, thank you for welcoming back to Poland. You know, it was nearly 1 year ago. I spoke at the Royal Castle here in Warsaw, just weeks after Vladimir Putin had unleashed his murderous assault on Ukraine, the largest land war in Europe since World War II had begun. And the principles that have been the cornerstone of peace, prosperity, and stability on this planet for more than 75 years were at risk of being shattered. 1 year ago, the world was bracing for the fall of Kyiv. Well, I've just come from a visit to Kyiv, and I can report Kyiv stands strong. Kyiv stands proud. It stands tall. And most important, it stands free. When Russia invaded, it wasn't just Ukraine being tested. The whole world faced a test for the ages. Europe was being tested. America was being tested. NATO was being tested. All democracies are being tested. And the questions we faced were as simple as they were profound. Would we respond, or would we look the other way? Would we be strong, or would we be weak? Would all of our allies would be united or divided? 1 year later, we know the answer. We did respond. We would be strong. We would be united, and the world would not look the other way. We also face fundamental questions about the commitment to the most basic of principles. Would we stand up for the sovereignty of nations? Would we stand up for the right of people to live free from naked aggression? Would we stand up for democracy? 1 year later, we know the answers. Yes, we would stand up for sovereignty, and we did. Yes, we would stand up for the right of people to live free from aggression, and we did. And we would stand up for democracy, and we did. And yesterday, I had the honor to stand with President Zelensky in Kyiv to declare that we will keep standing up for these same things, no matter what. When President Putin ordered his tanks to roll into Ukraine, he thought we would roll over. He was wrong. The Ukrainian people are too brave. America, Europe, a coalition of nations from the Atlantic to the Pacific, we were too unified. Democracy was too strong. Instead of an easy victory he perceived and predicted, Putin left with burnout tanks and Russia's forces in disarray. He thought he'd get the Finlandization of NATO. Instead, he got the NATOization of Finland and Sweden. He thought NATO would fracture and divide. Instead, NATO is more united and more unified than ever before. He thought he could weaponize energy to crack your resolve, Europe's resolve. Instead, we're working together to end Europe's dependence on Russian fossil fuels. He thought autocrats like himself were tough. and leaders of democracy were soft. And then he met the iron will of America and the nations everywhere that refused to accept the world governed by fear and force. He found himself at war with a nation led by a man whose courage would be forged in fire and steel, President Zelensky. President Putin is confronted with something today that he didn't think was possible a year ago. The democracies of the world have grown stronger, not weaker. But the autocrats of the world have grown weaker, not stronger. Because in the moments of great upheaval and uncertainty, that knowing what you stand for is most important. And knowing who stands with you makes all the difference. The people of Poland know that. You know that. In fact, you know it better than anyone here in Poland. Because that's what solidarity means. Through partition and oppression, when the beautiful city was destroyed after the Warsaw Uprising, during decades under the iron fist of communist rule, Poland endured because you stood together. That's how brave leaders of the opposition and the people of Belarus continue to fight for their democracy. That's how the resolve of Moldovan people, the resolve of the people of Moldova to live in freedom, when it gained them independence and put them on the path to EU membership. President Sandu is here today. I'm not sure where she is, but I'm proud to stand with you and the freedom-loving people of Moldova. Give her a round of applause. 1 year into this war, Putin no longer doubts the strength of our coalition, but he still doubts our conviction. He doubts our staying power. He doubts our continued support for Ukraine. He doubts whether NATO can remain unified. But there should be no doubt. Our support for Ukraine will not waver. NATO will not be divided, and we will not tire. President Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail, and the Ukrainian people's love for their country will prevail. Democracies of the world will stand guard over freedom today, tomorrow, and forever. So that's what's at stake here. Freedom. That's the message I carried to Kyiv yesterday, directly to the people of Ukraine. When President Zelensky said he came to the United States in December, quote, he said, this struggle will define the world and what our children and grandchildren, how they live, and then their children and grandchildren. He wasn't only speaking about the children and grandchildren of Ukraine. He was speaking about all of our children and grandchildren, yours and mine. We're seeing again today what the people of Poland and the people across Europe saw for decades. Appetites of the autocrat cannot be appeased. They must be opposed. Autocrats only understand one word: no, no, no. No, you will not take my country. No, you will not take my freedom. No, you will not take my future. And I'll repeat tonight what I said last year in the same place. A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never be able to ease the people's love of liberty. Brutality will never grind down the will of the free. And Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never. For free people refuse to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. You know, this has been an extraordinary year in every sense. Extraordinary brutality from Russian forces and mercenaries. They've committed depravities, crimes against humanity, without shame or compunction. They've targeted civilians with death and destruction, used rape as a weapon of war, stolen Ukrainian children in an attempt to steal Ukraine's future, bombed train stations, maternity hospitals, schools, and orphanages. No No one can turn away their eyes from the atrocities Russia is committing against the Ukrainian people. It's abhorrent. It's abhorrent. But extraordinarily, as well, has been the response of the Ukrainian people and the world. 1 year after the bombs began to fall, Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. Ukraine is still independent and free. From Kherson to Kharkiv, Ukrainian fighters have reclaimed their land. More than 50% of the territory Russia held last year. The blue and the yellow flag of Ukraine proudly waves once again. President Zelensky still leads a democratically elected government that represents the will of the Ukrainian people. And the world has already voted multiple times, including the United Nations General Assembly, to condemn Russia's aggression and support a just peace. Each time in the UN, that vote has been overwhelming. In October, 143 nations of the United Nations condemned Russia's illegal annexation. Only four in the entire UN voted with Russia. 4. So tonight, I speak once more to the people of Russia. The United States and the nations of Europe do not seek to control or destroy Russia. The West was not plotting to attack Russia, as Putin said today. And millions of Russian citizens who only want to live in peace with their neighbors are not the enemy. This war is never a necessity. It's a tragedy. President Putin chose this war. Every day the war continues is his choice. He could end the war with a word. It's simple. If Russia stopped invading Ukraine, it would end the war. If Ukraine stopped defending itself against Russia, it would be the end of Ukraine. That's why together we're making sure Ukraine can defend itself. The United States has assembled a worldwide coalition of more than 50 nations to get critical weapons and supplies to the brave Ukrainian fighters on the front lines. Air defense systems, artillery, ammunition, tanks, armored vehicles. The European Union and its member states have stepped up with unprecedented commitment to Ukraine. Not just in security assistance, but economic and humanitarian refugee assistance and so much more. To all of you here tonight, take a moment, and I'm serious when I say this. Turn around and look at one another. Look at what you've done so far. Poland is hosting more than 1.5 million refugees from this war. God bless you. Poland's generosity, your willingness to open your hearts and your homes is extraordinary. And the American people are united in our resolve as well. All across my country, in big cities and small towns, Ukrainian flags fly from American homes. Over the past year, Democrats and Republicans in our United States Congress have come together to stand for freedom. That's who Americans are, and that's what Americans do. The world is also coming together to address the global fallout from President Putin's war. Putin tried to starve the world, blocking the ports in the Black Sea to stop Ukraine from exporting its grain, exacerbating the global food crisis that hit developing nations in Africa especially hard. Instead, the United States and the G7 and partners around the world answered the call with historic commitments to address the crisis and to bolster global food supplies. And this week, my wife, Jill Biden, is traveling to Africa to help bring attention to this critical issue. Our commitment is to the people of Ukraine and the future of Ukraine. A Ukraine that's free, sovereign, and democratic. That was the dream of those who declared Ukraine's independence more than 30 years ago, who led the Orange Revolution and the Revolution of Dignity, who braved ice and fire in the Maidan, and the Heavenly 100 who died there, and those who continue still to root out Kremlin's efforts to corrupt, coerce, and control. It's a dream for those Ukrainian patriots who fought for years against Russia's aggressions in the Donbass, and the heroes who've given everything, given their lives in the service of their beloved Ukraine. I was honored to visit their memorial in Kyiv yesterday to pay tribute to the sacrifice of those who lost their lives, standing alongside President Zelensky. The United States and our partners stand with Ukraine's teachers, its hospital staff, its emergency responders, the workers in cities across Ukraine are fighting to keep the power on in the face of Russia's cruel bombardment. We stand with the millions of refugees of this war who found a welcome in Europe and the United States, particularly here in Poland. Ordinary people all across Europe did whatever they could to help and continue to do so. Polish businesses, civil society, cultural leaders, including the First Lady of Poland, who is here tonight, have led with the heart and determination, showcasing all that's good about the human spirit. Madam First Lady, we love you. Thank you all. I'll never forget last year visiting with refugees from Ukraine who had just arrived in Warsaw, seeing their faces, exhausted and afraid, holding their children so close, worrying they might never see their fathers, their husbands, their brothers, their sisters again. In that darkest moment of their lives, you, the people of Poland, offered them safety and light. You embraced them. You literally embraced them. I watched the looks on their faces. Meanwhile, together we made sure that Russia is paying the price for its abuses. We continue to maintain the largest sanction regime ever imposed in any country in history. And we're going to announce more sanctions this week together with our partners. We'll hold accountable those who are responsible for this war, and we'll seek justice for the war crimes and crimes against humanity continuing to be committed by the Russians. You know, there is much for us to be proud of over all that we have achieved together this past year. But we have to be honest and clear-eyed as we look at the year ahead. The defense of freedom is not the work of a day or of a year. It's always difficult. It's always important. As Ukraine continues to defend itself against the Russian onslaught and launch counteroffensive of its own, there will continue to be hard and very bitter days, victories and tragedies. But Ukraine is steel for the fight ahead. And the United States, together with our allies and partners, are going to continue to have Ukraine's back as it defends itself. Next year, I will host every member of NATO for our 2024 summit in the United States. Together, we'll celebrate the 75th anniversary of the strongest defensive alliance in the history of the world, NATO. And let there be no doubt, the commitment of the United States to our NATO alliance and Article 5 is rock solid. And every member of NATO knows it. And Russia knows it as well. An attack against one is an attack against all. It's a sacred oath. Sacred oath to defend every inch of NATO territory. Over the past year, the United States has come together with our allies and partners in an extraordinary coalition to stand against Russian aggression. But the work in front of us is not just what we're against. It's about what we're for. What kind of world do we want to build? We need to take the strength and capacity of this coalition and apply it to lifting up the lives of people everywhere, improving health, growing prosperity, preserving the planet, building peace and security, treating everyone with dignity and respect. That's our responsibility. The democracies of the world have to deliver it for our people. As we gather tonight, the world, in my view, is at an inflection point. The decisions we make over the next 5 years or so are going to determine and shape our lives for decades to come. That's true for Americans. It's true for the people of the world. And while decisions are ours to make now. The principles and the stakes are eternal. The choice between chaos and stability, between building and destroying, between hope and fear, between democracy that lifts up the human spirit and the brutal hand of the dictator who crushes it, between nothing less than limitation and possibilities, the kind of possibilities that come when people who live not in captivity but in freedom. 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 There is no sweeter word than freedom. There is no nobler goal than freedom. There's no higher aspiration than freedom. Americans know that, and you know it. And all that we do now must be done so our children and grandchildren will know it as well. Freedom. The enemy of the tyrant and the hope of the brave and the truth of the ages. Freedom. Stand with us. We will stand with you. Let us move forward with faith and conviction and with an abiding commitment to be allies, not of darkness but of light, not of oppression but of liberation, not of captivity but yes, of freedom. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops. And may God bless the heroes of Ukraine and all those who defend freedom around the world. Thank you, Poland. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you're doing. God bless you all.
That is
Winborn's the music of the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, 1969, celebrating the 50th anniversary of two iconic albums, Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. Conductor Brent Havens, vocalist Nick Adams, and the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. Saturday, February 25th at Powell Hall. Tickets on sale now at slso.org. Courtesy of Abco Music.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Mid-America's most trusted source for news, KMOX.
At 11:01, we've got a sunny sky, 49 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour. President Joe Biden reaffirms the U.S. dedication to European security as he met today with the Polish president in Warsaw, consulting with NATO allies over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. After making the surprise visit to Kyiv, Mr. Biden is working to solidify Western unity as Ukraine and Russia are preparing spring offensives. The Valley Park TCE Superfund site is getting cleaned up thanks to funding in the federal infrastructure bill. Wytron is the EPA's remedial project manager of the site. He tells Total Information AM what's the pollution.
Basically, there were two manufacturing facilities about 3 blocks apart that used chlorinated solvents as degreasers for their equipment, and they did not dispose of it properly.
The solvents eventually got into the groundwater. Tron says they've ensured that people aren't being exposed to the chemical. The next step is returning the site to pristine condition. A new sculpture honoring Native Americans is planned on Cherokee Street after an older statue at Cherokee and Jefferson was removed out of concerns it looked too much like a cigar store Indian. Sherry Elder of Elder's Antiques got into a debate over the project with civil rights activist Derek Laney.
Of the people who are spearheading making this happen, how many of them identify as Native?
None. We had absolutely, there was no Native Americans that were in the taking it down. There are no Native Americans that are, but the artist is Native.
The figures will be located on private land at Cherokee Street and Missouri Avenue. The KMOX business desk, one airline says families can sit together.
United Airlines got at least part of President Biden's State of the Union message when he touted the administration's effort to crack down on so-called junk fees. United now says it'll start a seating policy to make it easier for adults to book seats next to their under 12 kids without an extra charge. I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Radio.
Dow from Stifel is down 550 points to 33,276. We've got a crash on 270 East at Hanley, some debris on 70 East at Florissant Road. The center lanes are closed, and there was an incident 70 East before Route TW on the right shoulder. Weather sponsored by Penn Mutual Life Insurance Company.
KMOX AccuWeather, mostly sunny, nice, not as warm as it was yesterday, but we'll take it up to 56. Temperatures stay in the 50s tonight and then get up to 70 with some rain and rumbles tomorrow. Windy turning chillier, will drop through the 50s into the 40s on Thursday. And then it's cold Friday, and there could be some wintry mix this weekend. I'm Anki with the meteorologist, Justine DeVore, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Are you considering life insurance? Penn Mutual's accelerated client experience makes applying for life insurance fast and easy. Ask your independent advisor or go to pennmutual.com/STL. Sunny sky, 49 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
It's the show on KMOX. We just heard President Biden's full remarks in Poland on this 1 year. It does not feel like it's been a year since the Ukraine invasion happened, and reiterating his commitment to a European Union and just kind of what we expected him to say. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on the show. It is hour 2 of the show. And here's the thing that you may not want to do. If you get laid off, the first thing you may not want to do is go straight to social media.
Which a lot of people do.
They sure do. Did I? Wait a minute. I think I did.
I know. I'm trying to think. I'm like,
Oh, I had a great story. Maybe I'll ask Julie Bauke about this.
Yes, please ask Julie, because it's the best you got fired story ever.
President and Chief Career Strategist at the Bauke Group, Julie Bauke, is with us on KMOX this morning. Hello, Julie.
Good morning. All right. Spill on yourself. What did you do?
Okay.
Julie, it's so good. It was almost so good.
So in December of 2020, I get the phone call that, hey, revenue's down. We need to whatever, one of those, right?
Yeah.
We have to let you go. And they tell me that my email will be active for 30 minutes. So if there's anything I want, hold on, I didn't do anything yet. They say it's active for 30 minutes. So if there's anything on it you need, go get it, contacts, whatever. And so I do all of it. I can't remember if my former boss either... I don't know if they extended my time or if he emailed the company before my 30 minutes was up, and he had a company-wide email that said, Chris Ranji is no longer with the company, so-and-so, blah, blah, whatever. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I am sitting in my apartment, and I had typed out an email that said, I have questions. And it was for the entire, it was a reply all to everybody.
Oh my God.
I didn't send it, but I have told everybody I had it like in the holster ready to go. And everybody has said, you should have sent it.
What were they going to do? They had already fired you.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Not fire me? So did I do the right thing, or what should I have done?
Well, I have seen, because I've been in this world for 25 plus years, I have seen layoffs done about 98% of the time poorly. Mm-hmm. In other words, there's something that makes you go, eek. You think, wow, you got to, and it's one of those things, I get it. There's no way to do it in a way that's going to please everybody. And especially when you're doing larger layoffs. But if it's one person, you absolutely, you want to do this in a way that everybody walks away feeling somewhat intact and respected. The worst layoffs I've ever seen are the ones where people leave the organization with a cardboard box filled with their possessions, and they have no idea why. They are treated disrespectfully. People won't make eye contact. And it's just because it's really uncomfortable for everybody. But if you're the company or you're representing the company, you need to put on your big boy or big girl pants and treat the person like you'd like to be treated if you were being laid off. And sending out a company-wide email, all that person did was put you in a tougher hole to dig out of, because so many of the people in that company were going to be your potential references and your potential connections to new jobs. And so they got there and told the story, such as it was, he's not here anymore, before you were really able to gather your wits and decide what's your plan going to be moving forward. But again, I then on the other side of the desk, I see there's no really good way to handle it. But here is where social media really gets in. It sometimes it activates our let's just say our lesser, let's say our better demons, our lesser selves, because the temptation back in the old days, you got laid off, you took the cardboard box home, you say, honey, I'm home for a while, and it was then you get to decide how you move forward. What happens then in social media is some people use it as a platform to share their grievances. And that is wrong on every level. On the other hand, and because it's a great way to find new jobs, if you start putting bitter stuff out there about how this isn't fair, they don't know what they're doing, look at the way they handled it, I don't deserve this. Everyone who is your potential reference or networking contact is seeing that and saying, ooh, probably not a real professional way to handle it. And so it's a great tool, but you have to do it strategically and with intent and not to air your grievances, because they are your grievances. They're between you and the organization, maybe your spouse and a few best friends. But you've got to move forward in a positive way that says, look, business decisions happen. And I'm fine with it. I learned a lot while I was at that company, and I look forward to taking what I've learned and all of my experience to my next employer. So you have to be a big boy / big girl about it, which is really hard when you're really angry.
So I should have sent that reply all is what you're telling me.
Oh my God. That is so funny.
It would have been funny, right?
I love that. It would have been, but
yeah.
But I would also tell you, so let's say you were my client and you called me and said, man, I really want to do this. I'd say, okay, stop for a second. Let's think beyond this moment. Let's think beyond this moment where you want to do or say something funny. You may need people in your organization, especially in leadership, either to vouch for you, to give some sort of reference, not necessarily a formal reference, but a lot of people talk. And so you are making them look bad, which in the moment is so tempting. But these are people who have the ability still, as much as we don't like it, to control what is said about you in the market and control your next landing. And so I would have laughed about it with you and said, don't do it. Let's focus on the future.
Well, I didn't do it, so now I feel better.
There you go.
Good. You are validated.
And I think a lot of industries are probably like radio in the sense that it's very incestuous, and you have people who are bosses or, managers at one station, and suddenly they're at another station or another group or another cluster. And so you don't really want to burn too many bridges, because it could put you in a bad spot later down the road. And so, kind of to your point, if you do have to post on socials that you have been laid off, I've heard the suggestion to definitely take some time. You don't have to post right away. Let your emotions die down and keep it short.
Yeah, so a few things. LinkedIn has a feature. It's a green circle around your picture that says open to work. And that indicates to the market that you're open to have conversations about employment or contract work, et cetera. So you want to utilize that. Second, you should never, so our plan, like how we coach people through job search is very simple. Think, plan, execute. And so the think and plan part, posting on social media would be execute. Think and plan is, who am I today? What have I learned? What do I want to take forward and keep doing? What do I not want to do again? What's my next best job? What's important to me right now? Because our priorities and values change as humans, and our work should change with that. And so once you have clarity on what your next best move is, and you've crafted a resume and some core messages to questions like, what happened? Why did you lose your last job? You have to be ready to answer that. What do you want to do next? And what do you want to do next? And you have to be ready to answer those questions. Once you are, and especially if it needs to be clear, because if you just put stuff on social media that says, lost my job looking for work, nobody knows how to tell you, how to help you, because they don't know what you want. And so it's like a project plan of any sort. Once you've thought about, start with the end in mind. Once you've thought about what you want and you have all your tools ready, you want to update your LinkedIn profile, you want to have a great resume, then it's time to go on LinkedIn or social media and share those things so that people can help you. Nobody wants to help a bitter Betty. They just don't, because it's like, oh, do I want to bring that person into my company and have them spew this? I don't want to take that chance, because that can reflect back on me. And so you've got to get your emotions in control, even if you really know you were dealt a really bad hand, and figure out, all right, this happened. Now I'm going to move forward. And as they say, living well is the best revenge.
So even if, a lot of people do go to Twitter, and I tend to follow a lot who are in media, so who are in similar jobs to me, and I would say almost all of them, when they are either let go or it comes to an end, they do this whole thing about, oh, I appreciate the opportunity at such and such place.
Yep.
And I think we all know, reading those statements, they don't mean it. And they might, but if they've been let go, they are probably not in the moment feeling appreciative. So when you read it as a prospective employer, you read, oh, wow, I thank this company for the opportunity for hiring me. Does a future prospective employer really take that to heart, or are they thinking the same thing I am, that they don't mean that?
Well, a couple things. First of all, it's a very professional way to handle it. You do not air your dirty laundry on social media. And so as an employer, I would say this person, may regret it. They may have had their feelings hurt. They may feel bad about it, but they got a hold of their emotions and they're handling it professionally. And so, yes, I would see that as a plus. Now, to your first point, which is a really interesting one, because I've been doing this for so long, is that a much higher percentage than you think of people who get laid off are relieved, because they allow themselves to get to the point where they know they should have left a long time ago. They aren't happy anymore. And as a result, sometimes their work quality suffers and they go on the chopping block because of that. So I can't tell you how many people I have coached over the years who say, you know what, you really did me a favor. I was miserable. And Newsweek did a study years ago when Newsweek was, more of a prolific business magazine. I remember this because I was fully in this business of coaching people who just been laid off, And it was something like 90, it was in the 90 some percent of people who get laid off or leave voluntarily end up better off, happier, and higher paid than they were before. And so I think there's a lot of the opportunity. There's the fear of walking away on your own, because the devil, even if it's a terrible devil, is very often better than trying something new for a lot of people who have that fear. But the reality is, if you are miserable where you are, it's a terrible way to live, and you're probably not real pleasant in the other parts of your life as well. And just having the courage to step out and say, I deserve more, I'm going to go get it, is so, the word's overused, but it's so empowering. And so people who get kind of the rug ripped out from under them, in so many cases, more cases than you might imagine, there's a tiny bit of relief there, because it allows them to go out and recreate themselves, which we all need to do every once in a while.
Julie, you talk about the prospective employer seeing someone who got laid off showing restraint on their social media posts. They're not letting their emotions get the best of them. What about something that has nothing to do with being fired, but just the phenomenon of an overly confessional, overly sharing society on social media? Yeah. So we all know that person, that poster who posts every day, every couple of days, sad song or lyrics to a song, or, something about how bad their day was or how upset they are there about their spouse, kind of airing every emotion that they have. Which it's fine to have those emotions, but maybe not post all of them on social media. Certainly prospective employers are, doing a quick social media search, and they may see that.
How about to expand on that? What about the vague, like when people are really cryptic about their stuff, like, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Right.
Stuff like that, what they're talking about? Like prospective employers see that too, right?
Absolutely. So it's prospective employers, but also we get, even in this period of job boards being ubiquitous, 2/3 or more of people get their jobs through other people, either people they know or people they meet through the search. And so I think it even more than employers doing a social media search on you, you are, to everybody who knows you and cares about you, they are a potential referral source into their organization. And they're going to look at you and say, am I comfortable referring this person? Is this someone I want attached to my reputation? So even if you're just on your personal socials complaining about your horrible boss, people have been fired for posting TikToks, for making other social media posts. that slam their employer, they've been fired for that because it's a question of judgment. And if you are a person who is constantly posting their dirty laundry, how unhappy they are, terrible things about their friends and family, I look at that personally. I would look at that and say, to me, they're exhibiting poor judgment. And do I want to use some of my capital, my networking capital, my reputation, even though I think they might be really, really good at what they do? We're not just the work we do at work. We are coworkers, colleagues, potential bosses. And is this a person that I would want to work next to? And I actually had that conversation with someone one time. It didn't go very well. Someone who was constantly bemoaning horrible, if you just read her social media posts, you'd just think she had the worst life possible. And I know that's not true. And I tried to give that feedback one time, but as they say, unsolicited feedback is rarely welcome. And it was not welcome. And, she looked at social media as a venting platform. And I am so careful. Like I on Facebook, on LinkedIn, I make sure that it's things that are helpful, that it never puts anyone else down or an institution down, that it's not too personal about my life. When my husband died about 6 years ago, I waited a couple weeks and I just put like a very positive post out there and, I was saying, I just want my social media friends to know, but that's all I did. And then anything else that happened or any conversations I had with anybody happened off social media. And so I think you've got to really think hard about what are you putting out there, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of those places, Twitter. What you put out there is a reflection of who you are and the judgment you use. And if you think about who's on your Facebook page or who your friends are, just start thinking about some of those people and the people that you say, man, I would never hire or recommend Fred because of blah, blah, blah. And so social media has made it possible to live your life on the outside. And a lot of people do it. They've never known any different. And it just comes with great risks when it comes to getting what you want out of your career.
Julie, we appreciate the perspective. Thank you again for your time and have a great rest of your day.
All right. Take care, guys. Anytime.
That is Julie Bauke, President and Chief Career Strategist with the Bauke Group here on KMOX. We are way late for a break. We'll get to that. We're back with more after this on the show.
Well, STL FenceWorks has been serving the St. Louis, the St. Charles, the Franklin and Warren counties for over 50 years. That goes all the way back to 1971 when Russ and Carolyn Long opened STL FenceWorks, and now their son, Sean Timothy Long, STL, well, he runs the company. And when you work with STL FenceWorks, you can rest assured that you're working with a company that is family owned and operated and locally owned and operated. And I know we all look at house projects and things that we need to do. It's easy to push it off because you feel like, okay, this is a hassle. Things never go as well. They never go as quickly as you think they will. And it can be something that can be slightly intimidating when you look at the expense and you look at the time. Here's the thing with STL FenceWorks. Not only are they locally owned and operated and family owned and operated, as I mentioned before, but they have made deeply discounted winter buys on vinyl fencing as well as aluminum fencing, and they're able to pass the savings on to customers. We're talking pre-pandemic costs. Also, there's no supply chain issues or material shortages with STL FenceWorks. Right now, they have more supplies for decks and fencing on hand right now than they've had at any other time in their 50-year history. And also, you can know when you work with STL FenceWorks, your project will be completed by an experienced craftsman in a timely manner with a lifetime warranty that surpasses anything else offered in the industry. So take the stress off, get that deck built, put that fence in the ground with STLFenceWorks.com.
2 ways to listen to KMOX in your car. 98.7 in the city, 1120 a.m. further out. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Need to sell your home, but not willing to play the wait and see game? This is Debbie Monterey with Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. With Gloria Liu, you have seller options to choose from, including a no-obligation cash offer from one of Gloria Liu's cash buyers. It's simple, straightforward, and in many cases, you can receive a cash offer in less than 24 hours. No more wait and see game. And you can even pick the closing date. With Gloria Liu and her cash offer program, you are always in control. Not ready for the cash offer? No problem. Gloria Liu has a guaranteed sold program that states Gloria will sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she will buy it herself, guaranteed in writing. Gloria has solutions and options for every seller. So call today and ask about Gloria's no obligation cash offer program or the guaranteed sold program, 314-325-6888, or online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Plantar fasciitis feels like pointed, sharp pain, very intense. I had instability. I was so frustrated. I didn't know what to do. And I was driving past the Good Feet store. I mean, why not? Give it a try. They wanted to make sure they fit me with the right thing. They brought out several different arch supports and gave me the opportunity to try them in shoes and walk around with them until they found the perfect ones. And the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations on Olive west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort you might have been missing for years. Good Feet products are proudly made in the USA.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Furnish hope right here in St. Louis. Donate your unneeded furniture and household goods to Home Sweet Home. Visit www.homesweethomestl.org to learn more. Connect with KMOX on air, online, 1120 a.m., 98.7 FM, KMOX.com.
We've got the mayor of St. Charles, Dan Borgmeyer, is going to join us. They are dealing with a water crisis, and they have been following this story for the last several months. And we will talk to the mayor of St. Charles coming up after the news here on KMOX. And we do want to hear from you about anything that we've discussed. Biden visiting Poland, making the speech today, and also the story about the 16-year-old girl from Tennessee who was downtown and was hit by the car and has lost both of her legs as a result. Very sad story. 314-436-7900 is the phone number here on KMOX.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Paramount Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Brown. The physicians at Paramount Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Paramount Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now. 314-720-8081. 314-720-8081. That's 314-720-8081.
At 11:30, it's sunny and 50 degrees downtown at the Arch. And this just in, the EPA is ordering railroad company Norfolk Southern to pay all costs for cleaning up the site of the Ohio train derailment. If the railroad refuses to pay, then the EPA says it will immediately do the cleanup itself and then compel Norfolk Southern to pay triple the cost. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said today in Athens that Russia's decision to suspend a nuclear arms reduction treaty with Washington is regrettable, but the U.S. is willing to continue talks with Moscow on the matter.
The announcement by Russia that it's suspending participation in New START is deeply unfortunate and irresponsible. We'll be watching carefully to see what Russia actually does. We'll, of course, make sure that in any event we are postured appropriately for the security of our own country and that of our allies.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Moscow's suspension of its participation is in the last remaining arms control treaty between the world's two main nuclear powers. Walmart today reported strong sales for the holiday season as budget-conscious consumers looking for better deals flocked to its stores, but it gave cautious guidance for the next fiscal year. We've got a crash on 270 East at Hanley, some debris on 70 East at Florissant Road. The center lanes are closed. And the forecast from Dean DeVore, sunny, nice. Not as warm as yesterday, though, with a high of 56. Temperatures tonight slowly rise through the 50s. Tomorrow's high 70 with occasional rain and a thunderstorm. Sponsored by Farm and Home Supply, it's sunny and 50 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
This Saturday and Sunday only, February 25th and 26th, it's no tax weekend at your local Farm and Home Supply store. Make a purchase in store on either day and pay no taxes on your entire purchase. We pay the taxes for you. See local store for details.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Give your sweetheart an experience rather than a gift, like a night out for dinner or a couple's massage. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Broadcasting from the Underlying Three Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
The St. Louis City SC Visa credit card from Together Credit Union is available. Together Credit Union is the only place to find this official fan credit card, which offers so many fan perks and earns points on every purchase. Go to togethercu.org for details. Federally insured by NCUA.
Planning for an upcoming trip? It's important to know that updated COVID-19 boosters are currently available at no cost to you. Remember that immunity could take time to build. Check eligibility and schedule at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Declare financial freedom from car payments in 3 easy steps. 1. Visit St. Charles Hyundai during our amazing Payment Freedom event. 2. Choose your favorite new ride. 3. Drive payment free until summer 2023. That's right, make no payments until summer 2023 at St. Charles Hyundai, the #1 volume Hyundai dealership since 2015 in the Metro St. Louis area. St. Charles Hyundai, located a quarter-mile east of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive off I-70, online at stcharleshyundai.com. Interest, if any, accrues during the deferral period, expires 2/28/23.
The bigger your 401k, the better your retirement, right? Wrong.
The fact is, with proposed new taxes, another market crash, inflation, and rising healthcare costs, you could be forced to downsize your retirement. Discover the secret savvy investors are turning to for retirement security. A new 401k law that unlocks an ingenious retirement protection plan that could protect your savings from inflation and a stock market downturn while boosting your retirement income as much as 40%. It's all laid out in simple language in a new book from Josh Melberg. His insightful guide is your roadmap to retiring with confidence, and it's yours free with one call. Don't risk a lifetime of work building your retirement. This little-known retirement protection plan could safeguard your wealth and boost your retirement up to 40%. For your free copy of Guarantee Your Retirement by Josh Melberg, call now. Call 800-381-1212. That's 800-381-1212. 800-381-1212.
Hi, it's Matt Pauley. I'm in Jupiter, Florida, covering Cardinals spring training. Stay up to date with my reports from Redbirds Camp, mornings and afternoons, and Sports Open Line weeknights from the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center.
Spring training coverage, sponsored in part by Norm's Bargain Barn. On your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Amy Marks Chorus, Chris Ranji on the show on KMOX. Again, we'll get back to your text messages and your phone calls, 314-436-7900. As you may have been following along this story for, well, quite some time now, residents of St. Charles have been dealing with contamination problems in the water supply. It's the story that we have been following. The newsroom here at KMOX has been following for quite some time now, and we are glad to be joined by the mayor of St. Charles, Dan Borgmeyer, visiting with us this morning on KMOX. Dan, thank you for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
Happy to be with you.
So we wanted to bring you on because, first of all, there is going to be sort of a town hall situation on Thursday. It is the 23rd, where residents have the opportunity to ask questions of the EPA, correct?
That is correct.
So what
St. Charles Borromeo Grade School in the gym at 6 p.m.
Okay, so this is happening. What should people expect when they get there, and what are you hoping happens as a result?
Okay, I'll give you a quick background overview. We discovered the contaminated wells back in September of 21. The water had been fine up until that point, and there was some contamination, but very, very low levels, absolutely acceptable. In 2021, there's a thing called a flume, which is like a cloud in the aquifer, and that started spreading to our other wells. So we raised an alarm, went to the EPA, and said, we need for you to address this. Well, the key issue in all of this is a thing called a consent decree. And the consent decree will be EPA's mandate to whoever the polluter is as to what they have to do to remedy that situation. It used to be that they had to fix our wells, upgrade our plant, and monitor. After that, it got reduced to just monitoring our wells. And Ameren pushed very hard with EPA to get that consent decree ratified in November of this past year. We were able to block that through the help of Lukenmeyer and Blunt and Hawley. They all came on board, and we got the EPA to hold a hearing. There was over 500 people attended the hearing. We had over 1,500 attend so far, all the hearings. And the EPA came forth with what they wanted to do. Based upon public outcry and public input, they then have set another public hearing. They stopped the consent decree, and now they have another hearing scheduled for this week. And then beyond that, the consent decree has been put off substantially now for several months.
Now, looking at Ameren's statement, because again, the well water, the pollutants, the contaminants are from an Ameren substation, and specifically cleaning solvents that were used in that substation decades ago. And Ameren is complying with the EPA process as far as cleaning that up. Now, St. Charles has closed 6 of 7 wells, correct?
Correct.
So they've closed 6 of 7 wells. St. Charles is operating on one well, but Ameren in their statement, while saying that they would continue with the EPA cleaning process, they said, quote, It is also our understanding that the EPA has not asked for or suggested that the city close any wells, end quote. So I'm a little confused there. Has the EPA suggested that the wells be closed? Has St. Charles acted of its own decision to close the wells because of the contamination?
I closed the wells.
Okay.
The EPA did not. Now, as soon as those wells are contaminated, there's a thing called the acceptable to the maximum contamination level. And the EPA basically says, well, up until this point, you can drink the water, but beyond that, it's full of carcinogens and it's vinyl chloride. That's the most dangerous carcinogen there is for children. So no, I'm not going to pump any water into my plant that has any contamination in it whatsoever of vinyl chloride. So I closed those wells. We've closed 6 of 7. We usually pump about 6 million gallons a day. Right now, we're doing about 1.5 million. We're buying water from St. Louis. We're getting some comments on that because as the river goes up and down, the flavor and some of the things in the water, the cloudiness change a little bit, but the water is still safe. We have not run 1 gallon of contaminated water through our plant, and I'm not going to. Now, the EPA and Missouri Department of Revenue or DNR came back and said, we'll just take the wells because they're not at maximum. We'll test them every 3 months for a year, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to have my people drink contaminated water. And Amy, here's something I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a train wreck in Ohio, and within 2 weeks, the APA's up there. They've tested the wells. They're testing homes. The head of the railroad comes out and says to the people, I'm sorry, we did this. We'll take care of it. We'll pay for any damages. And we haven't heard a word from Ameren other than, well, we're complying with what the EPA tells us to do. Where's the CEO of Ameren? Why hasn't he made a statement to the people of St. Charles taking responsibility? Because now they have been named as the contaminator.
Do you feel that this is an issue of like the squeaky wheel with Ohio? It's garnered so much attention that in order to save face or to avoid public outcry, the EPA, the companies have to step up. But with this, it's perhaps not gaining as much attention. There's not as much public outcry. Do you feel it's that, or have the people of St. Charles spoken out against it?
Well, we've had 1,500 people total to attend the EPA hearings and ours. I was in dialogue with Fox News National the last couple of days, and I hope we get the same amount of attention that Ohio's getting, but Flint, Michigan got it, and Jackson, Mississippi got it. So this is ongoing, and a lot of our problems are with this particular region, the EPA, we feel. We didn't get the attention we needed. Finally, through social pressure and legislative pressure, we finally got a hearing, but they still will not say that Ameren needs to step up and pay for this. So we won the battle, having them named as a contaminator. Now we have to win the war, and that is to replace the 100 million plus that's going to take us to remedy this situation.
You have any insight as to why the EPA has not demanded that of Ameren yet?
I think it's bureaucratic entanglement. Now, the one thing I have done is I can't wait a year and a half for this to happen for my people to have clean water. So we've scoured the nation. We found several cities that have a similar situation, and there's equipment that we can hook to our current wells with the contamination and clean it. It's about a $20 million piece of equipment, and it's going to cost about $30 million a year to run it. So we're moving forward on that while we investigate locations for a new well field. So June 1st is our deadline to have that equipment set up, and then we will take the water out of the wells, depending upon the level of contamination, clean it completely, and move it through our plant. And that is working around the country in several entities that we checked out. So there is an avenue to clean water. It is very, very expensive. So while we're doing that, we're going to create a new well field. As soon as the new well field is done, which will take a couple of years, then we'll be able to get rid of the expensive equipment. But in the meantime, our taxpayers are picking up the tab. They used to have clean water, and now they don't. And whose fault is that? It's not theirs. They shouldn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is, what is the expectation for who? I mean, you have to have the water. You have to have clean water. That's not negotiable. But who pays for it is, right? So your expectation is that Ameren will take care of this?
I will accept nothing less than my wells replaced, my plant upgraded, and continue and monitor. We put in 36 monitoring wells ourselves to check this all around the well field. Ameren will not allow us to even do a test on their property. So there's a lot of things going on here that I think are not public and not transparent. So no, I want the wells fixed, I want the plant fixed, and I want ongoing reparation.
We're speaking with St. Charles Mayor Dan Borgmeier. And Mayor Borgmeier, I hear your story, your voice, your frustration and exasperation. And It reminds me of the same outcry that a lot of the parents at Jana Elementary are feeling with the Army Corps of Engineers, saying, well, there's levels there, but they're acceptable levels of, radioactive material, Coldwater Creek. And it feels like residents in areas where there is contamination run up against this wall, whether it's bureaucracy or the giant corporations, behind the contamination, and they can't move forward. Have you talked to anyone? And I don't know if it's relevant or if it's just would be catharsis, but talk to people at Jana Elementary or Coldwater Creek area, a similar situation.
I think you're spot on. I haven't physically spoken with them, but like I said, Jackson, Flint, all these places that have had this problem, they slow. Now, for most part, in most regions, they step up and they take immediate action. They're taking immediate action in Columbus, even though it was the railroad's fault. They're taking action. In this region, I think it's Region 7 in St. Louis, we can't get them to take action. It took us this long. We audited all the companies in our wellhead, and there was only one company that produced vinyl chloride, and that was Ameren. But it took us a year and a half. And basically, I said the EPA just ran out of road. Finally, they had to admit it was Ameren, and now they have. So now we're to the next steps, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, negotiation, legal, arbitration, whatever. I'm going to get my people's money back, and I'm going to get this problem solved.
So the first step is this meeting on Thursday, and the opportunity for people of the town. I know there are sections of there's a schedule here, but people can ask questions. They can be in the room starting at what time?
6 p.m.
Okay, so that goes from
Last time.
Go ahead.
Last time EPA set up a room for 150 people. We had 500 people, and actually people came and couldn't even get in the building, so they turned around and went home. So Borromeo Gym, I'm familiar with it. It's good size, but I think it'll be packed, and I think it'll be a standing room only crowd.
So it's the St. Charles Borromeo Parish Gym. It'll be this Thursday, starting at 6 o'clock, and all the St. Charles residents are welcome to be there and talk directly to the EPA. You said you're going to fight this as far as you can take it, and make sure somebody else pays for the issue. I mean, are you getting a legal recourse ready to go now, or is that something you're going to wait to see what happens in these meetings and what happens over the next few weeks before you go that far?
We took some legal action a couple of weeks ago to go to the courts and ask them to set aside the consent decree, which they have now done. So we are totally prepared to go legally, to go arbitration, to do anything we need to get the resolution that we need. And I'm a warrior about this. I can't believe that the CEO of Ameren has not said a word about this when we've got 72,000 people in St. Charles whose basically life, clean water, is being threatened. I mean, it's been documented there's a contaminator. Why doesn't this guy step up and make a statement?
Have you talked directly to him?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. We've had no communication with Ameren other through their PR people and the lady that was assigned to this, who didn't attend a meeting for the first year.
Have you tried to reach out to the CEO of Ameren?
I have not.
Okay.
I would think that he would be reaching out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as what the current threat for the people of St. Charles in terms of the drinking water, and whether you need them to personally take some action individually, what would that look like right now?
I think that would be something of a class action nature, and I don't think we're to that point yet. The problem that I'm having is we get our water from St. Louis, and it comes across through its river water. It's all clean and everything else. It's the same water that we've been using for years. And I think right now there's a very heightened sense of, well, the water tastes a little funnier. It's a little cloudier. It's been going on like that for years with the water that we get from St. Louis. But every time the river changes in terms of its orientation and its chemicals and stuff, they have to make adjustments. And it always takes a week or two for them to get that figured out.
And you're not asking, I'm sorry, Dan, you're not asking people to conserve right now, right?
No,
Okay.
Absolutely not. And that's why we decided to go with June 1, because before our summer numbers escalate with swimming pools and lawn watering, we don't want to get into a rationing situation. Plus, to be honest with you, I have $2.something billion going on in development. I don't need to go to these developers and say, hey, you're not going to have any water. So that's why we're going to take the steps to make sure, first, the people have water. and that it's clean. Secondly, that they have water to use. And then thirdly, that we have water to fulfill our infrastructure and our other problems.
All right. Well, and I wonder, I mean, would you want to talk to the president of Ameren? Would you want to talk to the CEO, either Martin Lyons or Mark Burke, if that opportunity presented, or if you reached out to them, or do you feel like that wouldn't be helpful?
Absolutely. I have a thing on my website called Hey Mayor Dan. It comes directly to me. I probably get 30 or 40 people a day who contact me over that. I'm very accessible, and I'm very amenable to a meeting and a discussion. But at this point, it's all been through their PR guy or through one of their field agents. So we've had nothing beyond that.
All right. Dan Borgmeyer, we appreciate your time. Wish you luck. And we'll keep following up with you. And hopefully we can get some word from Ameren and the EPA. And good luck on Thursday as well.
Thank you both very much. Appreciate the opportunity, and anytime.
St. Charles Mayor Dan Borgmeyer visiting with us here on KMOX. And again, just Google Hey Mayor Dan if you want that website, and it'll be the very top result. That's got to get resolved. I just can't. I can't believe the thing in Flint is still a mess, and it still is a mess. It's not what it was before, but it's still a mess. But stuff like this should be automatic. This should be absolutely taken care of.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. It's unbelievable.
I know with the company should be reaching out to the mayor, but even if, let's say they're not, if the mayor reached out, I wonder if he would, if he'd be able to contact the CEO or the president of
Maybe
Ameren.
we should reach out to Ameren. We'll talk to them
See
ourselves.
if they'll join us.
We'll see if he'll get them right here on the show. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji, you are listening to KMOX.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
This is Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates. For the best eye doctors, you need to see the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. YourEyeDoc.com, 314-966-5000.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much money you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Ken and Lori Heisey and their team at Heisey Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 314-328-4400. That's 314-328-4400. Now may be a great time to lower your future tax liability. Create a retirement plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Ken and Lori Heisey at Heisey Advisory Group at 314-328-4400 today and schedule your visit. That's 314-328-4400. Firm cannot give tax advice. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor, and Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. AEWM and Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC are not affiliated companies.
All right. I had a call the other day, last week, from a young man that was referred to me by his father because a piece of piping fell off his furnace. That piece of piping happened to be his flue pipe, which literally rusted from the inside out and fell to the ground. And his wife only seen it because when she went down to the gym to work out in their basement, she goes, "Oh, that's weird. What's this?" Remember, the flue pipe rusted from the inside out and fell to the ground. The furnace was under 10 years old. That was carbon monoxide emitting directly into the house with a newborn baby. Please have your furnace checked, regardless of the age. I would refer you to call me. That's Bart Inman. One easy number, 314-293 2600. Very easy number. Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600, or BartInman.com. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the GelmanTeam.com. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. That's my friends Mark and Neil Gelman at the GelmanTeam.com.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is hiring commercial and residential technicians and installers. Do you have a technical background? Are you mechanically and or electronically inclined? Overhead Door Company of St. Louis offers a paid training program, company vehicle that you take home, health benefits, competitive pay, starting bonus, and much more. Now hiring commercial and residential technicians. Go to overheaddoorsstlouis.com to learn more. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And did we mention it's aluminum free? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 903 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 903. LumeDeodorant.com, code 903 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. Love it or return it for free. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code 903.
Prepare an emergency kit, sign up for local alerts, and make a family communications plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. A public service message brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Amy Marks scores.
This is my show, my microphone.
On the show.
Amy and Chris on the show on KMOX. It's darn near lunchtime. We just had a conversation with St. Charles Mayor Dan Borgmeyer, who has a pretty severe issue in that the 7 water wells they use, he has shut down 6 of them, being proactive because of contamination there. You cannot, and he's right about this, you absolutely cannot give your people contaminated water. And he refuses to do that. He wants Ameren to take care of the situation because the contamination has come from that company. We are going to reach out to Ameren and see if they will come on the show and talk about what's going on and give us their perspective. But I would say that the mayor, in the meantime, unless there's some sort of legal reason they can't, he should probably be an absolute pain in the side of Ameren.
Keep calling every day.
Yeah, call every day.
Yeah, and it is one of those things where as Ameren pointed out, the EPA did not suggest shutting down the wells, but that's because there are these certain levels, right? Quote unquote, acceptable levels of carcinogens and other contaminants that can be in your water. And it's flirting with that edge. And I'm with the mayor. Why would you want your kids, your families drinking water that's like, it's probably okay?
You know, the food you eat, the beverages you drink, there is an acceptable amount of stuff that is allowed in all of them before they go to shelves. That's stuff like gross stuff, like the kind of stuff you wouldn't want to be in there. Traces of it are allowed, but this is a different story. Lunch is coming up. We've got a lot happening here. Jeff McCausland will be joining us in the next hour. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on the show on KMOX.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow. At AMCO.
AAMCO.
The St. Louis Symphony Orchestra performs Windborne's The Music of the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, 1969, celebrating the 50th anniversary of two iconic albums, Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. Conductor Brent Havens, vocalist Nick Adams, and the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. Saturday, February 25th at Powell Hall. Tickets on sale now at slso.org. Courtesy of Abco Music.
It is not officially spring, but I know you're thinking about it. This is Debbie Monterey, and start planning ahead now for spring, summer, fall, year-round entertainment by calling Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Chesterfield Fence and Deck is celebrating its 55th year in the business, and they have a string of happy customers, thousands of happy customers like me, who understand that Chesterfield Fence and Deck does only quality work that they stand behind, and that's how you stay in business for 55 years. So whether you're looking for a fence or a deck, maybe you want a custom sunroom or a screen room or a pergola, whatever it is in your outdoor space, Chesterfield Fence and Deck can help. And if you mention me, Debbie Monterey, they'll take 20% off your next outdoor project. Stop by Chesterfield Fence and Deck in the Chesterfield Valley, or they'll come to you. Just go to chesterfieldfence.com for all the information. Chesterfield Fence and Deck is the sign you have the very best.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The voice of the Billikens, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Charlie Brennan sees clearly thanks to Dr. Birdie and Malhotra. You can too. Go to youridoc.com today or call 314-966-5000.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 12 noon, it's a sunny sky, 52 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. Our top story this hour, we're finding out more about the suspect in the reckless driving crash downtown that cost a teenage volleyball visitor her legs. Here's KMOX's Kevin Killeen.
The suspect, 21-year-old Daniel Riley, was supposed to be at home on home confinement with an ankle bracelet, awaiting trial for an armed robbery case the night of this crash. KMOX has learned that he violated the terms of his pretrial release more than 50 times. Who's to blame? That's not clear. The security firm that monitors these cases is supposed to notify the prosecutor's office and defense attorney right away when there's a violation, and then the prosecutor is supposed to tell the judge and ask for a revocation of bond, but it's not clear who dropped the ball.
The St. Louis Circuit Attorney has released a statement to KMOX about Daniel Riley.
Janae Edmondson lost both her legs in the wreck Saturday night while walking along 11th and St. Charles. Janae was in St. Louis for a volleyball tournament. The statement issued by the Circuit Attorney's Office this morning to KMOX reads in part, the court was aware of Dan Riley's violations, and the decision to keep him out on bond was the judge's decision. To read the complete statement, go to KMOX.com. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
As the Russian war enters its second year, President Biden said the U.S. and its allies have Ukraine's back. CBS News White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports from Warsaw.
I'm Stephen Portnoy in Warsaw. The speech was not just an affirmation of the strength of the Western alliance, but also an expression of gratitude to the people of Poland, who have taken in 1.5 million refugees from their neighbor to the east. City officials say 30,000 people were on hand to watch the president's speech, which concluded with him on stage with a group of children waving Polish, Ukrainian, and American flags.
EPA Administrator Michael Regan is in East Palestine, Ohio, following the derailment of train cars carrying hazardous materials this month. There, he went to the homes of residents skeptical of the response to the incident.
Over 500 homes in various locations within the village, and all of the results have come back fine. And we're saying anyone that wants their home tested or even retested, all you have to do is reach out directly to EPA.
EPA says it'll try to force Norfolk Southern to pay for the cleanup. It's Fat Tuesday in New Orleans at the annual climax of the city's carnival season.
Thousands of people hit the parade route for Lundi Gras.
The camaraderie with all the people from New Orleans. I mean, we just accept everybody, and we have a good time.
Many staking out spots along Napoleon Avenue.
We have been here since last Wednesday?
True New Orleanians showing tourists how it's done.
It doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a lawyer, whatever. When you come to New Orleans, you don't have to be that. You could be whoever you want.
A tradition they say is sacred to the city they love and call home.
The KMOX Business Desk, no party at one retailer.
Suppliers for bankrupt Party City are trying to head off a scarier than usual Halloween. Some of the retailer's most important vendors are banding together to negotiate better trade terms for supplying Party City with costumes for its biggest holiday of the year. With Party City's future still in the hands of a federal judge, some are wary of waiting until after Halloween to be paid. I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Radio.
The Dow from Stifel's down 533 points to 33,293. We've got an accident, Martin Luther King East at Vanaventer. We've got a crash, 270 East at Hanley, right shoulder. Some debris, 70 East at Florissant. Center lanes closed.
It's going to be a nice afternoon, mostly sunny, not quite as warm as yesterday, but not bad. Up to 56. We'll stay steady or slowly rise through the 50s to near 70 with some rain and rumbles tomorrow. Then we'll back up from 60 down in the 40s during the day Thursday as it turns windy and chillier. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Dean DeVore on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Sunny sky, 52 in Florissant, 52 in St. Peters, and 52 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
The show on KMOX. It is the afternoon. It's lunchtime. It's Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji, and we are happy that you are with us, and we are happy to be going back out to the guest line following President Biden's speech in Poland today, marking the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We are visit with retired U.S. Army Colonel Jeff McCausland, who is a friend of the show and with us today on KMOX. Good afternoon, Jeff.
Chris, good afternoon to you.
Hey, I'm sure you heard the speech today. This was one that we carried live on KMOX. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, obviously a very strong, very robust speech by President Biden. He wanted to underscore, I think, a bunch of themes, one of which was, of course, the American unwavering support for Ukraine. Second of all, the steadfast unity of the alliance in the face of this aggression. And then thirdly, he also wanted to thank the Polish people who have been remarkable, I think, in terms of the humanitarian assistance. You know, sometimes, Chris, we overlook, as we consider this war, the Poles have hosted probably somewhere around 1.5 million refugees from Ukraine, most of them women, children, and elderly, and done that for the last year. Not put them in refugee camps and tents, but taking them into their homes. A pretty remarkable event. And then last but not least, of course, though the speech was not described as rebutting the previous speech given yesterday by Vladimir Putin, in many ways it did, because Mr. Biden was very clear about articulating this was a war of choice by Putin. And he mentioned Vladimir Putin repeatedly, called him craven, etc., said he could end the war with one word, but then went on to say that this is not a war against the Russian people. This is not an effort to destroy Russia. Themes that Putin had stressed in his remarks to the nation the previous day, in which he said the West was out to destroy Russia. This was an existential moment, and really describing a narrative that Russia now is at war with the West, underscoring that by his announcement of the suspension of the last arms control agreement we have with Russia, which is New START.
That seems to be a playbook of a lot of dictators. It has happened over the years. It happened with Germany in World War I, where they say, we're going to be invaded by neighboring countries, so we better do something about this. Why is that such a common tactic?
because a lot of what Mr. Putin was talking about was to the Russian people. And though we don't see widespread, demonstrations because they've thrown 15 or 20,000 people in jail, we can know that the average Russian doesn't, I think, buy into the notion that this is all about the existence of Russia future, that this is like World War II, the Great Patriotic War. They're very docile and go along with it, but I don't think he's been able to make this into the people's war that he's wanted to make this war ever since it's begun. And we see that in his policies. He hasn't publicly called for another mobilization of troops because the mobilization he called for in September for 300,000 troops resulted in what some people think is over 1 million young Russian males fleeing the country. Hardly a demonstration that the Russian people buy into this notion that Russia's very survival is at risk.
Also, in his State of the Nation address, Vladimir Putin declared that Moscow was suspending its participation in the last remaining nuclear arms control pact, the New START treaty with the United States. What is the significance of that?
Well, in a way, that's kind of a snoozer, to tell you the truth, because this agreement was really in suspended state ever since 2020, when we suspended on-site inspections here in the United States where we host Russians, or on-site inspections in Russia where they host our folks to verify that both sides are complying. And so that had been suspended for 2 years by the pandemic. Last November, there was scheduled to be a meeting of the coordinating committee that oversees New START to create a new schedule for inspections in particular that was scheduled to occur in Cairo. And only a day or so before the actual event, the Russians suddenly announced that they were not coming for quote unquote technical reasons. So in essence, you could say that this treaty has been suspended since 2020. That being said, the formal announcement of suspension, not withdrawal, that's key. He didn't withdraw from the treaty. He just suspended it. Further suggests the deterioration of U.S.-Russian relations and suggests, how serious this particular crisis still remains.
There's been a lot, Colonel McCausland, there's been a lot of pushback against Biden's visit to Ukraine and him speaking in Poland today, as opposed to being here and dealing with the rail disaster in Ohio. To me, they are separate issues. But there's also just been in general a lot of pushback against our assistance of Ukraine. Is it still important for us to be backing them?
Well, absolutely. When I talk to Ukrainians, I talked to Ukrainians yesterday in Kyiv, they watch that very closely. But, I'm not so sure that this pushback, besides a handful of very vocal right-wing, frankly, Republicans, is all that visceral. I mean, the polls that I see find the American people 60, 70% in support of Ukraine. There's some argument, are we doing too much? Are we doing too little? Obviously, support for Ukraine has weakened over the period of a year. That's true, and I'm sure the White House is very cognizant of that. I think that's one thing they were trying to shore up by this particular visit. What was interesting to me is what's happened over the last several days. A few days ago was the Wehrkunde Security Conference in Munich, a very important annual security conference. At that particular event was the largest delegation from the United States Congress that has ever attended one of those events in history, led by the minority leader of the Senate, Mr. McConnell, who has been very outspoken in his support for Ukraine. In fact, I think in some cases has been critical of the Biden administration not moving as fast as he thinks they should.
There was a leaked internal strategy document from Putin's executive office that detailed a plan on Russia's goal to take full control of Belarus, only not through war, but through coercion, through a pretext of a merger between the two countries. Do you know the substance behind this and what significance this has, if any, on the way the U.S. and the EU approach Putin's attack in Ukraine?
Yeah, he's been basically trying to do that for several years. He has President Lukashenko of Belarus kind of over a barrel. Now, Lukashenko knows that he can't survive in office absent Russian support. He had this fraudulent election a couple years, and it was really Russian support that allowed him to put down the demonstrations in the aftermath of him basically stealing an election. And as that has gone on, he's become more isolated in the world. He is more and more dependent, particularly on subsidies for things like natural gas and oil from Russia. But he's been walking a tightrope. On the one hand, I think the Russians would like to see Belarus a direct participant in this war with Belarusian forces. Lukashenko, while pledging his support for Mr. Putin, has been kind of steered away from that. I think because he fears that to do that, he couldn't depend on the reliability of his forces actually invading Ukraine, because they'd say, why are we doing that? There's no threat to us. And therefore, he's sort of trying to maintain that very that tightrope where, on the one hand, allegiance to Putin because he needs that to stay in office, while not going too far, which might endanger him with his own people.
Colonel McCausland, I saw last week, and I don't know how reliable this is. That's why I want to ask you that about 97%, the estimate is that 97% of Russia's military is already deployed to Ukraine, which, I mean, that's if that's true, that's like everything. And that does not seem to bode well for them. Is that accurate?
No, I don't know if the absolute number is accurate, 97%. I've seen numbers as between 80% and 97%, as you have suggested. Yeah, and just take out a map of Russia and look at how big that country is, how many borders it's got, and all of a sudden say, yeah, we got 90% of it devoted primarily to a 600-mile long front in the Donbass and Ukraine, and you're saying, boy, that's really a great risk to our overall security. But I think this underscores the gross misassumptions that Putin made at the onset of the war, that this would be easy and be over in a hurry. That failing, now he's kind of stuck and can hardly say, well, I got that wrong, but you're all going to forgive me for this. It further underscores just how much the Russians have invested in this. Estimates now are that they, in the last year, have suffered somewhere around 200,000 casualties, probably 50,000 dead, the other 150,000 wounded, prisoners, deserted, etc. So even if this war was to end today, the effect on the Russian economy and the effect on the Russian military will reverberate for 5 to 10 years. I would estimate if the war ended today, it would take them 5 to 10 years just to rebuild their army.
If this is then effectively a war of attrition, and the United States maintains its support for Ukraine as well as other European countries, do you see 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, maybe not that far, but a negotiated peace because Putin and Russia have run out of resources militarily?
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. A lot of people talk about this as a war of attrition. It kind of looks like World War I, trench lines and artillery being the most predominant weapon on the battlefield. I think the Russians want to fight a war of attrition because they don't really care about their people, and so they're willing to send, as they are, young conscripts with very little training to do human wave attacks and just get mowed down in the Donbass. That's what they're doing. That's how they got those casualty figures. I think for the Ukrainians, they realize time now be on their side, and hopefully for them, the influx of Western weaponry, tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, etc., over the next few months may allow them to fight a battle of maneuver as they try to do a counteroffensive, which might affect the overall calculus. But this could go on for several years. Again, if you talk to a Ukrainian, they would say this has been going on since 2014. The Russians invaded in 2014, occupied a substantial portion of the Donbass then, and occupied Crimea. And we've been involved in intermittent warfare with the Russians along that border ever since. It was just only an intensification of that war that occurred in 2022.
I've seen this suggestion a lot. In fact, had a texter into the show today who has suggested that had President Trump been in office, this never would have happened. There never would have been a Russian invasion. Is the invasion itself in any way the responsibility of Joe Biden?
I really couldn't disagree more. I mean, who invaded who? I mean, come on, who invaded who? It's clearly this was a choice by Vladimir Putin because he believed, as I said before, it was going to be easy. We'd occupy Kyiv in a couple of days. Russian officers were told to pack their dress uniforms for the big parade that was going to occur a few days after they crossed the border. He, second of all, assumed following, frankly, a rather disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, that NATO was divided. He looked at a polarized America January 6th and saw this as his opportunity, and so he took it. As far as when this war would have occurred if Mr. Trump had been president, I probably would agree. It probably wouldn't have, because Mr. Trump would have stood idly by and allowed Putin to have Ukraine. Don't forget, when Putin invaded, the first reaction from former President Trump was how brilliant Putin was. How brilliant Putin was. And that brilliance has resulted in somewhere around 20 to 30,000 Ukrainian civilians, men, women, and children being murdered by Russian invaders. But he would have allowed that to occur. So I think whoever that viewer was that called in, he's probably right. And we would have stand by and saw this country butchered.
When you see, I believe President Biden's visit to Kyiv was the first time a U.S. president visited a war zone when there were not U.S. troops on the ground in that area. What is, to you, the significance of that? And do you think it was a bold statement or one of those things that, yeah, it's significant, but now we move on?
No, I think it's a very bold statement. In historical terms, I've been scratching my head on that one about going into a war zone. The only sort of similar example I can think of was Franklin Roosevelt on a very secret mission by ship made his way all the way to Tehran to meet with Joseph Stalin and Winston Churchill in 1943. A pretty dangerous secret mission that he went on. But since then, I think this is certainly the first time, as you said, that a president's gone into a combat zone where U.S. forces are not there in predominance. And so I think a pretty bold move. Obviously, one that was planned for many, many months. I mean, I worked in the White House. I can only imagine the level of planning that went into this and the effort to keep this secret and under wraps. And by his mere presence, he clearly, if he'd said nothing, underscored the U.S. unwavering support for Ukraine in this war. So, again, I talked to Ukrainians just yesterday and asked them what their reaction, and they could not have been more delighted.
Colonel McCausland, as always, we appreciate your time today. Thank you for the information and your time this afternoon.
My pleasure.
That is Colonel Jeff McCausland, retired from the United States Army, also a CBS military consultant, a regular contributor here on KMOX, and we always appreciate his time. It's Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji. You've got the show on KMOX.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to The Dave Glover Show and all the news, talk, sports, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
Hi, it's Debbie Monterey. And when I make a recommendation, you can be sure that I've done my homework and I only promote the best. So when it comes to real estate, I only recommend one realtor, and that is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been recommending Gloria for years now. I've met her clients, I've seen her systems, and she's the only agent I would trust to sell my home. Gloria Liu's proven track record for selling hundreds of homes this year alone should give you the confidence that she will help you sell for the most money, or the fact that Gloria already has the buyers. Buyers looking to buy right now. That's why Gloria will actually guarantee in writing to sell your home at your price and your time frame, or she'll buy it herself. Call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or you can find her online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Many great wines now come in boxes, which produce half the overall emissions that bottles do. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
The bigger your 401k, the better your retirement, right? Wrong. The fact is, with proposed new taxes, another market crash, inflation, and rising healthcare costs, you could be forced to downsize your retirement. Discover the secret savvy investors are turning to for retirement security. A new 401k law that unlocks an ingenious retirement protection plan that could protect your savings from inflation and a stock market downturn, while boosting your retirement income as much as 40%. It's all laid out in simple language in a new book from Josh Melberg. His insightful guide is your roadmap to retiring with confidence, and it's yours free with one call. Don't risk a lifetime of work building your retirement. This little-known retirement protection plan could safeguard your wealth and boost your retirement up to 40%. For your free copy of Guarantee Your Retirement by Josh Melberg, call now. Call 800-381-1212. That's 800-381-1212. 800-381-1212. 1212.
It's the final days of Ashley Home Store's President's Day sale. Last chance to save big. Up to 50% off. Shop deals starting at $399. Or get no interest for 5 years with no down payment. That's no interest until 2028. Don't miss huge mattress savings at Ashley Home Store. Save up to $500 on best-selling Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets. In stock and ready for delivery. Text deals to 79975 to learn more. Ends Monday. Only at Ashley Home Store.
For a limited time only, First Community is offering an 18-month certificate of deposit on new money that pays a 4.75% annual percentage yield. Unlike some high-risk investments, CDs are fully insured to keep your savings safe, and the return on your investment is guaranteed. Requires a $500 minimum deposit to open and 100% of funds as new funds not currently on deposit at First Community. Call 1-800-767-8880 for terms and conditions. Federally insured by NCUA.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack. So they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Trusted information, live and local. From the award-winning KMOX newsroom.
That's a really great question, Amy. Would I pay, I don't know how much it costs to go to, on that, was it Blue Origin or whatever that thing was that took you up into space so you could see it? The one that William Shatner did.
Yeah.
I can't decide if I'd rather do that
or
go to the bottom of the ocean and see the Titanic up close.
I would be terrified of both, but I would do the Titanic thing because you said you can pay a certain amount and go in the little capsule.
Yeah.
And
That's a
go
great
down
question.
to the Titanic. So I was talking about my friend who works for an insurance company that's part of Lloyd's of London, like all of the branches. And they were the ones who insured the Titanic. And he had a copy. He showed me. It was so cool. A copy of the original insurance form with all the underwriters of the Titanic and these guys, very, very, titans of industry at the turn of the century who put down $5,000 or $2,000 thinking they were making this great investment. And of course,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah, not great.
To go down and see the Titanic. And what's amazing, I just read this story of a guy who did go down and see the Titanic, and he said, "You're never looking down at the Titanic. It's so big, you're always looking up at it. So you're going down underwater, but you're always looking up because it's so massive."
Somehow I think that would make me more nervous than going into outer space for a couple minutes.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I have to think about it. We discussed the really tragic story of the 16-year-old girl, Janae Edmondson from Tennessee, who was here for a volleyball tournament in St. Louis, and a 21-year-old who was driving an Audi, he was driving 20 miles over the speed limit, had gone through an intersection, failed to yield, was hit by another car. His car then hit her, and she had to have her legs amputated. Just an all-round tragic story for multiple reasons. First of which, her and her life is forever changed.
Yeah, and another reason why it's so tragic and frustrating is it was completely preventable. It should not have happened. This 21-year-old Daniel Riley, 7 months ago, he was in court because he was being charged with armed robbery. The victims were there. The witnesses were there. The defense was there in court, but the circuit attorney's office was not prepared for this case, even though this court date of July 18th, 2022 was 2 years after the armed robbery took place. The circuit attorney's office was not ready. Charges were dismissed. They were refiled the next day or the same day. But this man was walking free. He had his GPS bracelet on. Oh, by the way, he violated the stipulations of the GPS terms over 40 times, including 5 days before the crash. Criminals are not deterred in this city. They know that they can get away with breaking the law, whether it's something like a traffic offense or armed robbery or a carjacking or, my goodness, even homicide. Nothing's going to happen to them. This should not have happened. This was preventable. Our city should be ashamed and embarrassed.
This was preventable in the sense that he individually, this case should not have been there and should have been on trial. Instead, I don't know if it's all about deterrence, though. I know a lot of people think that's the key here, but we are not unique. There are cities across the country, cities like ours, that are dealing with very, very similar problems. We have our issues and we need to tackle them, but this is a countrywide problem, and that is undeniable. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji here on KMOX.
They say money can't buy happiness, but yes, it does. If you find $5 on the sidewalk, you're pretty happy. Now imagine that happening all the time. With the Upside app, you find cash in places you never expected. Restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, all the places you go. There's cash back waiting for you to find it. Will Upside solve all your problems? We can't promise that. But it will give you a little something extra so you can treat yourself. And there's nothing like a few unexpected bucks to brighten your day. That's life on the Upside. Download it today. Get the free Upside app and use promo code GOODLIFE for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code GOODLIFE for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Start living life on the Upside with the free Upside app.
I grew up on, and I really love spaghetti and meatballs. When we were little, we went from baby bibs to towels because back then my mom did the laundry and they had to buy the clothes. Tomato sauce is very, very hostile to clothing. Now as an adult, I realize you need a bib. Bottom line. Don't want a white shirt, don't eat pasta. Or use a bib. What does this have to do with heating and cooling? Again, guys, absolutely nothing. But if your furnace does break this winter, which is going to be a cold winter, putting all the pasta aside, even while you're eating it, you can still call one easy number, Missouri, Illinois. That is 314-293-2600. And if you're asking who the hell this is, it's Bart Inman. You can go to the internet thing and do BartInman.com. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
At 12:30, we've got sun, 52 degrees downtown at the Arch. President Biden today delivered an address in Warsaw, Poland, a day after a surprise trip to Kyiv. The president doubled down on support for Ukraine and said the coalition will not back down against Russia.
If Russia stopped invading Ukraine, it would end the war. If Ukraine stopped defending itself against Russia, it would be the end of Ukraine.
Researchers have documented more than 700 attacks against healthcare facilities and staff a year into Russia's war on Ukraine. Residents of the city of Kherson said retreating Russian forces took most of the ambulances with them. Russians engulfed the last functioning hospital in Mariupol as they captured the city and threatened doctors if they tried to leave. Attacking hospitals and medical personnel is considered a war crime under international law.
What happened to Lamar Johnson could easily happen to any of us. And we have to understand that this is a very serious issue for someone to potentially be wrongfully convicted of a crime that they did not commit. We want to right those wrongs. We want to make sure those things don't happen in our state.
Missouri State Senator Brian Williams says if his new legislation passes, inmates like Lamar Johnson would be able to ask for compensation for the time spent behind bars. Johnson testified at the state capitol Monday for Williams' SB 253. We've got a crash on 55 North at 141 and a stalled vehicle 270 North at Dorset on the right shoulder. Mainly sunny today, not as warm as yesterday, but a high of 56 degrees, sponsored by the Penn Mutual Life Insurance Company. Tonight, increasing clouds. Temperatures rise through the 50s. For tomorrow, occasional rain and a thunderstorm with a high of 70. At Penn Mutual, they believe that life insurance is the central part of a sound financial plan and that it can make an enduring impact for generations to come. Talk to your independent advisor or go to pennmutual.com/STL. Penn Mutual, trusted for life. It's sunny, 53 Florissant, 54 St. Peter's, 52 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Hi, this is Ken Newbold at Newbold Toyota. If you're worried about gas prices, Toyota has the most models of hybrid electrics in the industry. From the best-selling Camry to the best-selling RAV4, we've got it all. So come see us. That's Newbold Toyota in O'Fallon, Illinois, or newboldtoyota.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
As the familiar tune fills the air, joy radiates along with the heat of flickering flames. You make a wish for another year surrounded by the ones you love. With each passing year, the compassionate team at Prairie Cardiovascular will be by your side with heart care that allows you to focus on what matters most. A life well lived. Prairie Cardiovascular, here with you.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Hi, it's Matt Pauley. I'm in Jupiter, Florida, covering Cardinals spring training. Stay up to date with my reports from Redbirds Camp, mornings and afternoons, and Sports Open Line weeknights from the TR Hughes Homes Broadcast Center.
Spring training coverage, sponsored in part by Wilkie Window and Door, on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
One thing I've learned over the last 3 months or so is that Amy Marxkors is terrified of artificial intelligence.
Am I?
Absolutely terrified of it.
I think I'm not terrified. I am unamused, and I think it's a bad direction. However, the shortcomings of AI have already revealed themselves, just as people are enthralled by the possibilities of ChatGPT. We're also seeing its shortcomings. And so ultimately, people who know how to communicate and who know how to write, they will succeed in this world, while those who are relying solely on AI will make it so far and then peter out, hit a wall.
Here's what's terrifying about it. And right now it's amusing, because we've seen over the last couple of weeks real examples of outstanding voice artificial intelligence. And what that means is you can take any text that you want read, you can write anything you want to, and have a voice of a celebrity be able to mimic that entire everything that you have written down.
Mhm.
They will read it the way you have written it, and so you can have a celebrity or a politician or whomever read what you have written, and it sounds like they have actually said it.
Okay, so everything I just said,
Yes.
I do think that with ChatGPT, but everything that you just mentioned, that deep fake voice, deep fake imagery, that terrifies me. You're right. I'm
So-
terrified of it because
Now-
how do you know?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Here, let me give you this one. Here is a great example.
I'm
There's a guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
His name is Zach Silverberg, or at least that's what his handle is. And he has taken something that he has written, and right again, before I play it, it's really, really funny. Before I play it for you, I'm laughing at it as I hear it, but also realize how dangerous this actually is.
It's so dangerous.
So let me play for you what he has done. He has taken Joe Biden, and he's going to sound like a younger Joe Biden. He doesn't stumble, but you're going to hear him,
Mhm.
and it sounds exactly like him. But this is what this, I guess he's a comedian, Zach Silverberg, has created.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. I've made a huge mistake. Are you familiar with the 2011 film We Bought a Zoo? The Matt Damon picture. ScarJo is in it as well, although her performance isn't anything to shake a stick at, if I'm being honest. It was directed by Cameron Crowe, the fellow who made Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Anyway, so I was watching We Bought a Zoo a few days ago because it came up on my Disney Plus after I finished an episode of that Baby Yoda show. And I thought, wow, I still can't believe they bought that freaking zoo. So I looked it up and they really did do it. They really bought a zoo in real life. I thought it was just the Matt Damon movie, but it turns out it's based on a book by a gentleman who really did buy a zoo. In England, though, not in California, like the movie. But anyway, this is where the trouble started. Because if someone could really buy a zoo in real life, not just in a movie, then hell, why shouldn't I buy a zoo? So I did. I bought a zoo. And my fellow Americans, I want to kill myself. Owning a zoo sucks. This shit is so hard. It looked much easier in the movie. In the film, Matt Damon and ScarJo have a great time as they get to know each other. And sure, there were some trials and tribulations along the way, but by the end of the movie, everyone is happy. And Matt Damon even gets a kissy. My fellow Americans, I've not gotten even one kissy. Instead, I have gotten attacked by tigers and jaguars, wicked creatures of the jungle. I've been bitten by all manner of beasts, such as snakes and bats. I went to feed the kangaroos, and they all attacked me at once, like it was coordinated. One of the panthers got loose, and I haven't seen it in over 8 hours. I'm scared. This shit is so hard, not just physically, but emotionally, too. One of the zebras died, and I cried for days. One of the monkeys ate one of the other monkeys, and it was the most f***ed up thing I've ever seen. It shook me to my very core. Buying a zoo was the biggest mistake of my life. Oh, and I looked at the budget, and it turns out I bought the zoo with the money that was supposed to go to our teachers. Me, I guess. I really shouldn't have bought this zoo. Huh? Oh, the panther.
Oh, yeah. So
Should we? For
That's
people who
not
just
really
tuned
Joe
in,
Biden.
Thank you. That's what we
that
need to say.
is, I don't know if this comedian used the 11 Labs voice AI, which is a new technology, and that's the name of the company that does it, 11 Labs. I don't know if he used that, but that sounds incredible. That is
what's
really
so
scary because that is not Joe Biden. He didn't say any of those things, but you can make anybody say anything now.
I can tell you right now, if I were at the grocery store, if I were at Deerberg's, I got into my car. I always have 98.7 FM, KMOX. I always have 98.7 FM on. And I got into my car and I turned it on in the middle of that segment. I would have thought, oh my gosh, the president has lost his mind. It's time to invoke the 25th Amendment because it sounds like Joe Biden. That's the deep fake voice, the deep fake imagery. That's what's terrifying.
Well, there's another one that I think you should hear.
Okay.
This is this guy has also created a conversation between Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro.
Two titans of podcasting.
Two titans of podcasting and hot take giving. Here is Rogan talking to Ben Shapiro.
So I went to the beach that makes you old.
You went to the what?
The beach that makes you old.
The beach that makes you old?
Yeah, man, the beach that makes you old.
Excuse me?
I got to tell you about this beach. It made me old.
You have to know that's not possible.
Look at me, man. I'm old as hell. And it's because I went to the beach that makes you old.
There are a million reasons why you might look the way you look. I'm not going to entertain the idea that a beach could make you old.
Wait, actually, I think it's the rocks on the beach, not the beach itself. Something to do with the cliffs.
What are you talking about?
Had to swim through coral to get out.
Stop.
But I'm still old.
Enough. Let's say hypothetically that a beach could actually make you old.
The rocks.
The rocks. Let's say the rocks could make you old. How much of you is getting old? Does your metabolism speed up? Do you need to pee more frequently?
Man, listen.
Do your fingernails grow faster?
Man.
Your hair?
I don't know, man. I just got old.
I'm finding it hard to believe. It doesn't hold together logically.
I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't old and now I'm old. I think it was because I went to the beach that makes you old.
This is all pretty ridiculous.
You want to see for yourself?
Sure. Why not?
You can go to the beach if you want. But you'll get old.
I doubt it.
Look at how fucking old I am.
I'm not going to get old.
You will get old.
I won't.
You will.
The beach will not make me old.
Okay, man. But don't say I didn't warn you about getting old. Jamie, pull up the directions to the beach that makes you old.
I'm not going to get old on the beach.
Good luck, man.
So
Okay, that's I mean, it sounds
it
like
sounds so much like
so
both of them.
much like Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan. Again, if you just got in your car, you had KMOX on your radio, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that that's not them.
Right. We talked to Ian Scher last week from CNET, and he was talking about how little. So what they can do is they can take a very little bit of information and they can extrapolate, and you can hear an entire conversation. All they need is something like 10 to 20 seconds of each one of those guys talking. And then you can put it into the AI. Then you can feed in whatever you want the AI to say, and you can have an entire conversation with very little data input. That's super frightening. And I don't know how there's got to be some sort of safeguard for it, because you could have some real geopolitical issues. You could have real legal issues. If you have this recording and you say, look, I have this person on tape saying what they're saying, here's a recording of it, and it's not actually them. There are so many real world dangerous implications here.
The internet, we talk about it not being the real world, but there are real world implications, and it is now a real world. We've looked at social media. Our own Senator Josh Hawley saying, okay, if we have age limits on how old you have to be to go to a bar or to a strip club, it makes sense that you have age limits on social media, right? It's a fake world, internet world that has implications, real effects in our reality. That's one thing. This deep fake stuff takes it to a next level where the entire framework for how we determine what's real and what's not has been shaken and at times just completely collapsed. Because if you said, well, Joe Biden said this, well, let me see the speech where he said those things. Let me hear it. With deep fake capabilities now, it could be very difficult to know if what you're looking at is really Joe Biden, if what you're listening to is really whatever political figure or celebrity that you think you're listening to. And if you can't use your own eyes and ears, which have always been a benchmark for determining what's reality and what's not, if you can't trust your own eyes and ears, what you're looking at, what you're watching, what you're listening to, how do you know? How can you tell if it's reality or if it's simulated? And that's incredibly dangerous.
Again, I think this creates so many legal issues. Let's just think about somebody who is actually caught on tape, caught being recorded saying something really incriminating, and it was done by legal means, illegal wiretapping, or a person has a wire on them, a sting operation of some kind. All this is done legally, and then that person in court says, nope, that's not actually me.
Right.
I suppose you have multiple witnesses, and those witnesses can testify, but if it is a recording of, I don't know if they still do bugging of offices. I think they do, actually. Isn't that how one of our St. Louis County people got arrested or got in trouble? So if they do something like that, that person may have legal, plausible deniability to say, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. I didn't say those things. I think there's a really dangerous precedent, and I don't know how it ultimately gets worked out.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the danger in someone denying something that they actually did or said, but also the violation of someone potentially artificially incriminating you, or what we're already seeing right now, specifically with female celebrities, deep fake porn. That's a huge violation of your privacy and your rights. You have these explicit videos. They're able to put the face of a female celebrity on it. Somehow, we have to protect individuals from the potential of deep fake technology. And the problem is, with all of these tech companies, whether it's ChatGPT or Facebook, who Mark Zuckerberg famously said, move fast and break things, we're unleashing technologies onto this world that we're not prepared as a society. Our systems of justice and law are not prepared for these new realities created by advancing technology ever moving forward. And so we have to be reactive. We have to be responsive. But again, a lot of times these laws, these restrictions don't take place until something's already gone terribly wrong. Someone's been violated. Something's been broken.
That's Amy Marks Kors. I'm Chris Ranji. The Dave Glover Show is coming up at 1 o'clock, and we, as always, will hang out with them for that 1 o'clock hour. All of that's happening soon on KMOX.
And it is tax season. It's a very stressful time of year, especially if you're a business owner. But I have good news if you're a business owner who has 5 or more employees and who managed to stay in business, keep things running over the past couple of years with all of the challenges that you've had to face. You could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. It's not a loan, and it's nothing that you will have to pay back later. It is a refund of your taxes. And if you're wondering, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but how do I cut through the red tape? How do I get my business that refund money? Here's what you need to do. Go to getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com. Now, first, this payroll tax refund is only available for a limited amount of time, so you don't want to wait. If you've got your phone, your laptop, your computer, go ahead and go to getrefunds.com. And you can know that the team of tax attorneys that they've put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. All types of businesses can qualify, even those that took PPP or those that saw increases in sales. To find out if your business qualifies, go to getrefunds.com.
The Cardinals' second full squad workout is underway in Jupiter. 4 of the 5 projected starting pitchers are scheduled to throw bullpens today, with Adam Wainwright, Steven Matz, Jordan Montgomery, and Jack Flaherty. Miles Michaelis is throwing a live BP session. Manager Oliver Marmol revealing this morning that Tyler O'Neill is competing for the starting center field position. He is expected to play center field in the World Baseball Classic, but he's working out in center field during Cards Camp, showing off what he can potentially do there for the Cardinals. Dylan Carlson is the expected starter in center field, but Lars Nootbaar can play there as well. This spring training report is brought to you by Norm's Bargain Barn and Wilkie Window and Door. From the T.R. Hughes Homes Broadcast Center in Jupiter, Matt Pauley, KMOX Sports.
This Cardinals Spring Training Report is sponsored by Norm's Bargain Barn and Wilkie Window and Door.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Plantar fasciitis feels like pointed, sharp pain, very intense. I had instability. I was so frustrated. I didn't know what to do. And I was driving past the Good Feet store. I mean, why not? Give it a try. They wanted to make sure they fit me with the right thing. They brought out several different arch supports and gave me the opportunity to try them in shoes and walk around with them until they found the perfect ones. And the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations on Olive west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort you might have been missing for years. Good Feet products are proudly made in the USA.
An important message from SNL Coins Gold and Silver buyers. SNL Coins Gold and Silver buyers pays top dollar for your gold and silver coins, old currency, diamonds, gold-filled jewelry, scrap gold and silver. Get a quote with a call to SNL 544-3600. SNL Coins 544-3600. Or visit SNL, 9300 Gravois just east of Mackenzie, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 Saturday. Before you sell, call SNL, 544-3600.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. We recently received a call from an injured person. The insurance company had offered them $11,000. We took the case over and got more than $2 million in court. Morgan & Morgan.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Tom Ackerman for Building Community with Busey Bank, a podcast series easily accessible at KMOX.com/community banking. Our goal is to bring awareness to local organizations and share how they're bettering our community. This month, Muriel Smith, Executive Director of the St. Louis Area Diaper Bank, joined Jeff Burgess, President of Busey Wealth Management, and I to discuss the need for diapers and period supplies. Listen to Building Community with Busey Bank at KMOX.com/community banking.
When you have an electrical emergency, call Reinhold Electric right away. They answer their phone 24 hours a day to make sure they can get your power on and stay on as quickly as possible. If you are planning some changes, maybe you're doing a remodel or maybe building brand new, Reinhold Electric works with residential, commercial, and industrial. Having a small electrical issue with your house or maybe your electric panel, call on Reinhold Electric to come inspect it. Their number 314-631-1158, online at reinholdelectric.com.
Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. The amazing Payment Freedom event is back at St. Charles Nissan. All you need to do is head to St. Charles Nissan, choose your favorite new ride, and then drive payment free until the summer of 2023. That's right, you make no car payments until summer 2023 at St. Charles Nissan, conveniently located a quarter-mile east of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive off I-70, or you can visit online at stcharlesnissan.com. Interest, if any, accrues during the deferral period, expires 2/28/23.
Plan your next home improvement project at the Home Builders and Remodelers Metro East Home Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Belle Claire Fairgrounds in Belleville. Check out our lineup at localbuilderevents.com. Home Builders and Remodelers Metro East Home Show this weekend.
Furnish hope right here in St. Louis. Donate your unneeded furniture and household goods to Home Sweet Home. Visit www.homesweethomestl.org to learn more.
Chris Ranji.
Wonderful bones, great eyes, and you dress really interesting.
On the show.
Everything you missed on the show is available to you via the podcast on the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app. It's free. KMOX.com. That's also free. And if you missed anything today, like our conversation with St. Charles Mayor Dan Borgmeyer or Julie Bauke or Colonel Jeff McCausland, all of it is there for you to enjoy on KMOX.com and the Odyssey app.
All right, Ron, several years ago, I was in New York and I went to the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, in New York, and they had this special exhibit, Picasso's sculptures. It was 2 or 3 stories of all of these sculptures done by Picasso. I didn't realize he was such a prolific sculptor. And as I walked around admiring the pieces, I also thought, oh my gosh, what if I broke one of these? I'm very clumsy. It happened. It happened at an art fair in Miami. It wasn't Picasso, but it was the famous sculptor and artist Jeff Koons, who does those giant balloon animal sculptures that sell for millions and millions and millions of dollars. This was a smaller one. It was Balloon Dog. It was worth $42,000, and a woman accidentally hit it and knocked it over, and it shattered into a bunch of pieces. One of the attendees at the art fair, he said he thought it was part of the art, like it was performative art that someone would.
Yeah,
so like
it.
at first he was like, oh, wow, look at this.
Oh, interesting.
And then as more and more people freaked out about it and gathered, he realized, nope, this woman just knocked over a $42,000 piece of art.
This thing's just in the middle of the room. Why do
It
art
was-
places do this?
No, it was on a pedestal. And so a representative for the art gallery said the woman, quote, gave an unintentional kick to the pedestal. Another person said like she hit it with her hand or whatever, but it turned into a whole scene. They said the world stopped for 15 minutes and guests gathered around to watch the tiny blue shards get swept up into a dustpan.
Do you know what would have been like really badass? Is
What?
if you knocked the thing off and then you or somebody like dove onto the ground and
Mhm.
caught it right before it hit the ground. That would be awesome if that were you.
If you were the one who caught
saving
it.
the sculpture. Yeah.
Well, I just think this woman lucked out because this piece was sold for $42,000 or was worth $42,000. But in There was another piece in 2019, Rabbit, from the same artist that was sold for $91 million, breaking the record for most expensive art
Remember
piece.
a couple of years ago when Banksy sold that portrait, and as soon as it sold, it shredded?
Yes.
That was awesome. That guy's amazing. Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji. The Dave Glover Show is coming up next. We're going to hang out with them for an hour on KMOX.
He was looking for the place called Leho Fooks.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto,